Alrighty, guys. This is Silk here, not Chris. I'm the editor and producer here at the Bomb Hole. I edit all these episodes, and I'm filling in for Chris for these next few intros that we're doing because Chris has a brand new, beautiful, and healthy baby boy. He's taking some paternity leave. He'll be out of the office, getting some much-needed family time. So, for today, I want to thank our Patreon members. I see all your little names popping up on the screen when you sign up. I appreciate every single one of you. All of us here do. Thank you guys for your relentless support, for asking questions, for being involved in our community. We thank you so, so much. And I also want to thank all of today's sponsors. We have Gozney, Bubs Naturals, Nidecker Snowboards, Autumn Headwear, Pub Beer, and Yeti. Thank you so much to all of you. And for today's guest, Mark Sollors is in studio. We're so glad we were able to sit down with Mark. Gem of a human, so kind, so nice, so humble. It was a beautiful chat. We really think you guys are going to enjoy this one. And if you don't know who Mark Sollors is, he hails from the Great White North. That's Canada. And from an early age, he was a bit of an ATV. His old street clips are timeless, if you will. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be seeing these clips on screen. If you're not on YouTube, maybe go check out YouTube. I don't know. Maybe subscribe while you're there. I don't know. But Mark now has his sights set on the backcountry, and I think he's onto something there. I gotta be honest. I think he's onto something. His trick selection is insane. Spins are so slow. Oh, the style is beautiful. The grabs tweaked. He knows what he's doing, and I think he has a long, promising career continuing in the backcountry. So we're super excited to have had Mark on. It was a beautiful chat, and without any further ado, let's get into it, the Mark Sollors episode.
You are listening to the
Hey, MFM, see you on the lips. Back attack, dude.
Bon voyage!
Hey, yo, homies, good.
Slide down them big hills, you know what I mean, on the big, nice burgundy snowboard.
All right.
I hear it every time.
I love it. First audible we've had. Today we got a big episode. We got Craig McMorris all the way from Canada co-hosting. What's happening, Craig?
You know what? I'm excited to be here, pumped to ride.
Love that. Silk D.
Also excited to be here, pumped to ride.
Love that. And we have Mark Sollors in studio. How we doing, Mark? What's happening?
I'm doing great. Both these guys are pumped to ride, so I think I am too. I'm coming off of what you guys got. Let's go.
Peer pressure.
So that big, nice Burton snowboard, do you think that was a mess up where he meant to say Burton?
For sure.
That
You
was,
must
right?
have. You must, because I think it was at the U.S. Open.
It was,
Right? Yeah,
yeah.
you got to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
Nice.
see a lot of burgundy snowboards.
That's a good point.
You know, it's just not a colorway.
It's not a color that's
Yeah.
trending right now, so we're not seeing much of it.
There may or may not be one in the works, allegedly. I will say, I'll leave it at that.
Nice.
So, Mark, it's we're getting into fall here. It's full-blown fall, but I'm curious, how's your summer been?
Summer's great. It was a lot. I mean, I had a lot going on. Honestly, like mentally, I feel like I had a lot going on just because we had so many friends got married, so I was dealing with so many bachelor parties. I planned all of them, so I had like 3 bachelor parties. One of them, my buddy Shane did it for her friend Max. But yeah, we had bachelor parties, planning, which is like a lot for me because it's like my best friend's kind of like big event. So I put like everything I had into it. I'm one of those like kind of OCD people where it's like if my name's attached to something, like I want to do the best I possibly can at it. So we had that, and then I do like the charity golf tournament every year for the Chill Foundation. So that takes up so much of my like off time in the year. And then August was just like traveling nonstop. So yeah, it was great. Like honestly, no complaints, but it was a lot.
I'm curious what goes into, let's just take like a Jody or a Rasman bachelor party. Like, what are we talking here? Give us the itinerary.
The itinerary. You want to know what happened?
Yes.
I'm not. There's a lot of stuff we can't share. Obviously.
Allegedly.
It's a bachelor. Allegedly happened. Things that allegedly happened.
It's allegedly.
Well, no, because we go like basically the best part of a bachelor party is like figuring out, okay, who is your best friend? Like, what are they all about? What would make them the happiest? So we start there and we work backwards, basically. Like these are things that they care the most about or that I think they would have the most fun with doing with like their closest friends. So Jody is like, I mean, not shy about it, but like and myself are like huge fans of Fred again, like the artist. And like we've been fortunate enough to see Fred again live at Osheaga in Montreal last year. And this year he had like one stop in North America. And I was like, dude, we can do this. We can find a way to surprise him with it. It was right outside Nashville. And Jody's like a pretty like, you know, he's Winnipeg. He's got a country heart. Like Nashville's like a good fit for him. So we did that. We didn't tell him anything. He had no idea. It wasn't until the morning of, like, he didn't even do any research to find out that Fred again was like playing in Nashville. So we had like a private shuttle take us out to this festival, and we had like the ultimate access for it. We were in like the emergency exits, like security zone, and just got to watch the show from like best seats in the house. It was amazing. Actually, I got to give a big shout out to Gabe LaRue that helped us line all that up. So that was thank you. Yeah. And then, I mean, that's just like the quick over with it. But then Rasmun's an outdoor guy. You know, he loves the water. He loves going on jet skis. You know, like we do these like big overnight missions on the Sea-Doo all up the British Columbia coast. So we're like, okay, if we can get, you know, 10, 11 of his friends together and like get extra jet skis and like go out on these missions and do this like overnight, it just like worked out perfectly. He could showcase like his favorite things to all of his best friends that don't necessarily get to experience that. And that's what Rasmun's about, like sharing his favorite things with people that might not experience that. So we had like the best weekend probably of like recent years for all of us on this like private island that we went to. We were out on the Sea-Doos exploring. We were just like it was just insane. So yeah, like I said, it's like a lot like mentally, I feel like, because I'd really break down like the traits of my best friends and like, hey, how can we like really exploit that and make it so personal for them?
Is this a service you're looking to provide for other people? Or?
Consultation?
Yeah.
Sorry, that was
No, I love it.
How long are we into this podcast? We 20 minutes in? So-
I love it. I love it.
It definitely beats getting like blacked out and just going to Las Vegas or whatever. You know, I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's run it back. You're Canadian. I'd love to hear about where you're from.
I am from British Columbia. I'm not one of the ones, you know, like born out in Ontario or Quebec that make their way west. I am from British Columbia, the small town in the center of British Columbia called Kelowna. And that's where I was raised. It was sick when I was growing up. It's changed now quite a bit. Like it's a lot bigger. It's a lot more of like a kind of a summer place for people to come and visit. But growing up was sick. We had such a great like skate and snowboard community. We had like the resort that was nearby. Like it was kind of this ideal place where we would get snow in the city in the wintertime. And that's where I would learn to like start hitting street rails and stuff like that. And then we would have like snow up in the mountains that was like good BC powder, and we could build like backcountry jumps, or what we called them is basically like a jump off a cat track. And then we would have like a sick spring park and ride it all. Like honestly, it was funny because I was literally living, like growing up, I was living the life of like what pro snowboarders were doing, you know, those like ATV riders where it was like they would hit street rails, they would go in the backcountry, and they would hit park, we would do contests. I've been doing that since I was like a child, just on a smaller level, and then it just kept, as I got better and better, it kept growing size-wise, and here we are.
And you're a shop rat, right? Like you spent
big
it.
time.
Yeah.
Big time.
What shop? Who were you
Did you
talking
talk to somebody about that? Have you done research, or are you just know that I was a shop rat?
I know everything about you. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a store in Kelowna called Island Snow, and I would go there after school every day. I would sit, they would have the TVs above the shoe rack, and then there was this bench that was kind of like a C bench, and I would sit there and I would watch skateboard videos or snowboard videos. As soon as they come out, they would put it on for us. We'd never really buy anything, but it kind of like shaped in who we were, and that was like really what brought me into that like skateboard and snowboard community. You know, like when you're that young, that's who you look up to, or like the people that are like within that community, and they help teach you kind of like what you should focus on, what's important, what are the skate videos, who are the riders you should know about, and like what brands are doing the best for like that core community. So yeah, it was a great space.
And then 1994 Snow Show Convention, Vancouver. Was that before the shop or was that after?
That was like during the shop. I haven't even told many people this. Yeah, we went to the Vancouver Snow Show. My dad brought us down there, me and my brother and I, and we didn't actually have, so in Vancouver, they used to put on like these massive ski and snowboard shows. And they would have, there's actually some shots in some of the old videos. I think like Simple Pleasures would have had shots, but it was like this quarter pipe that would come down the stadium. And I feel like maybe the snow melted. I don't think it was planned, but there was like a wooden coping above the snow. Yeah. And I just think maybe they couldn't get enough snow to actually shape up a proper quarter pipe. But we had access while they were practicing. We didn't have tickets for like the main event. But I remember like sitting. We were right next to the stairs where all the pros were climbing up to do it. I literally had a brochure. It's gone now, unfortunately, but I had every single person that had a Forum boot on signed because I was the biggest fan of Devin Walsh, but I didn't know what he looked like. So I just got everyone to sign it. And I ended up having like Peter Lyon's autograph and Devin's autograph and JP, like all these pros that, you know, I didn't realize until later that I had interacted with them, which is kind of crazy.
It's a chicken or the egg situation.
Chicken or the egg.
Get the autograph and then
figure out who signed it.
Is that the
Covered
thing
your bases.
Peter Line does backside disaster
Yeah,
on?
I think so.
Revert?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's at least what it was in my mind. I mean, you know, when I was like 7 or 8 or something like that, it's like maybe my mind skewed a little bit, but in my memory, that was what I was seeing. Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, was there a moment you're learning to snowboard, you're figuring things out? Was there a moment where it clicked where you're like, maybe I could be sponsored, maybe this could be a thing?
Yeah. I think that's like a hard one to analyze when you're young, you know? I think it's more just like, I want to keep doing this and do it as much as I can. And then, you know, if that transitioned into getting to snowboard with Evan or getting to snowboard with these people, that would be ideal. I don't think I understood it in a sense. It was like, oh, like I can make money and I can have a career and have like that can be my life. You know, I think it was just this, you know, grow, get better, and then be in different situations. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And your mom and Bruce, your stepdad, really pushed you a little bit, right?
Yeah.
In terms of buying season pass. And then I think very untraditionally, you know, we've heard a lot of guests go to snow schools, but you didn't really go to a snow school. They just moved you to Whistler, correct?
Yeah. So there was a lot that went into it. Basically, like I'll start with saying this. It's my mom was a flight attendant. She worked with Air Canada for 29 years. When 2001 happened, obviously tragic, September 11th, that really hit her, I think. And it kind of opened up this world where she was like, okay, like life is short. You know, like what do you want to do? What are the things you want to achieve in your life? What can she do to help us as younger, you know, children grow into the dreams that we want to have? She talked with people at the shop. She talked to my friends, and they pretty much all landed like, hey, like he's a very talented snowboarder. He needs to move to Whistler. I mean, that for Canada, it was like Whistler's the place it all happens. So through them, she was like, okay, he's obviously in school. We can't take him out of school. Distance education was somewhat of a thing, but it was before online classes. Like I would get sent like fucking textbooks of like entire chapters, like a semester of school that would be like, this is what you have to do. So they allowed me to do grade 11, half distance education, half in school, so that I would start, you know, like getting into that. Can he do the work? Does he still stay on schedule? So I was allowed to do that for grade 11. And then when I did a good enough job, I would say I didn't do a great job, I did good enough. They're like, okay, for grade 12, if this is really something you want to do, we're going to set you up with a family in Whistler where they have children that go to the university or the the high school there. And we'll set it up so you can study at the school, you can snowboard, and your entire grade 12 is going to be distance education. And that's when they dropped me off at 17 years old in Whistler. And, you know, they still tell the story of me like standing on the side of the road, this kid just looking around Whistler, being like, okay, all right. And my mom has it like burned into her memory, like driving away, like, I hope that town doesn't tear him apart.
It's tearing a lot of good ones apart, though.
Yeah, eats people alive. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is this Jeff Martino, or like is he in the picture at this point?
So if I really want to share, if we want to go into detail about that, yeah, like during those shop days, it was Mike Sperling that was one of the people that worked at the store that was a huge impact on like basically helping me meet the people, helping me, you know, like, hey, you know, go and snowboard here, you know, and that's where Jeff Martino came into play. I think it was Mike and a few other people at that store that were sending videos down to Jeff Martino being like, hey, like this kid I was running all analog. Like analog was the fucking shit back then. It was so sick. And they're like, he's running all analog. Like, you got to get him some stuff. And it was actually that analog kit was the last year my parents bought me like head to toe gear. And they're like, we spent so much money. We're not doing this again. And the next year is when I started getting like some loaner boards and this. And Jeff Martino was that like person that really kind of like pushed me to continue snowboarding, helped me when I was moving out to Whistler, and then was like a big voice as far as like making sure that Burton head office kind of like was seeing what I was doing and being a part of the conversation about like in the future, let's try to incorporate him into the Burton head office company.
So you're 17, you're living in Whistler. What are you doing on your snowboard? Are you filming? Are you doing contests?
Everything and anything, man. I think at that time it was like whatever I could do. If people had cameras, we were filming. You know, Rusty Ockenden moved out there like not long after me. I think he moved out there in the spring when I moved out there in the fall. And he was always like a media head, you know, like he knew how to edit. He had a camera. He had all that stuff. So we would film everything we could and just try to pretend like we were those pros, you know? Like basically we would watch Robot Food and like all the Mac Dog videos and everything. And we'd be like, oh, that was a cool shot. Let's, you know, like Travis Barker's doing like little butters and everything. Like, okay, cool. Like, let's reenact that as like the sun's going down, you know, obviously at like a way less skill level. But that's kind of how it started. I would compete. I would do everything I could to kind of snowboard.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just, no, you go, please. I'm sorry.
I was going to say let's just tighten that up.
No, keep that in, please, actually.
I like this. I like having both of you here. I feel like I'm talking really fast, but because you guys are both just like absolute conversation juggernauts. So it's almost like if I even hold back, you guys will have a great banter fest.
No, I'm already fucking captivated, Mark. Yeah. I want to know.
Tell me to slow down. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm just chugging along.
No, you're flowing like the salmon of the Capistrano, so to speak.
Nice.
So what I wanted to ask is, around this time, you did you have a major opportunity, breakthrough, something that pushed you over the edge, memorable moment?
I mean, yes. That's hard to narrow down. I feel like I can't speak for all pros, but for me, when I look back on my career, I feel like there are absolute turning points, you know, like one single day or one trick or one event or something that's like a massive catalyst in your career. And I can probably sum up like 8 to 10 that would be, I wouldn't be here if that one thing hadn't happened, you know? And I not to do a little sidebar here, but I think that's why it's such a struggle for like snowboarders to make plans in the wintertime, because you know, 60% of your video part can happen over a 4-day stretch, and you don't know when those 4 days are going to come. So it's like you make plans for February 15th, and all of a sudden those plans come, and that's your best snow, no wind, best conditions for filming, and you made plans to go somewhere else. And now people are going to be like, oh, your video part wasn't that good. And it's like, yeah, I missed 4 days, and those were the best 4 days of the entire season.
Yeah, so. Especially Whistler.
Yeah. Sandbox was kind of your first little foray into dipping your toes a little bit, no?
Yeah, Sandslone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, so it was kind of a combination too, because, so I'll tell the story quickly about how like I kind of got welcomed on to like the Burton headquarters, because I think that was like a really big turning point for me, like one of those catalysts I was talking about. And I would go up to Camp Champions in the summertime, RIP Camp Champions. Right. And I worked there a little bit, but during this time, I was kind of just like a guest person that could come up. I would be like invited by Steve Harris and Mike Sperling. Mike had moved to Whistler at this point, and they were running like the demo tents for Burton. And I would show up there, I would ride every day, and there was the first jump right below the Burton demo tent, and I would just hike it, and they would call out tricks. I would drop in, I would do whatever trick they said, I would hike back up, do whatever trick they said next, and those were my days. And I remember specifically one day there was this guy sitting in the tent that I'd never seen before, wearing an Anon sweater, like the big A right there. And I didn't really think much of it. I was like, oh, that's weird. Must be one of Steve's friend or whatever. And I went back in to do my usual kind of like, all right, call out trick, switchback 5, do switchback 5, cab 7, front 7, all those. And then like halfway through the day when I was having lunch, that guy came up to me, introduced himself, and it was Michael Garzina, like Chaka, who's like legend, Burton team manager for like the Smalls. He runs like media department now. Like he's such a staple in that company. And it was cool because I guess, I don't know why he was there necessarily, but I think he came to like ride with myself and Spencer O'Brien and Rusty Ocken and Mikey Pedersen, other people that were in that area. And sure enough, like met him. I rode like shit that afternoon once I like caved under the pressure of knowing that, you know, who he was, and I was riding in front of him. But like a month or two later, Dave Driscoll, who was the team manager at the time for Burton, hit me up and he was like, hey man, we want to offer you a contract and come in company. And then that basically led to the introduction of, you know, a sponsored part to be with Sandbox Films and Kevin Sansalone, which was, I would call my first like professional video part, even though, you know, I was like a child. I felt like,
Yeah.
but that was kind of how that introduction started. So it was like one catalyst that set off, the next couple of years with Sandbox, and then a couple years later, another catalyst would happen, which would bring me up to Stepchild child support video.
How many years of Sandbox before child support did you do?
I think my first video with Sandbox was like 2004 or 5, and then child support was 2007. So probably 2 years, I think, with Sandbox.
Did you finish high school? I feel like we kind of breezed over that.
I did, and I got my official diploma from the government of British Columbia in, I think, 2012.
Is it still hanging in your room?
I don't know if it's hanging in my room.
Okay.
I think I might have hidden that because the age versus graduation date wouldn't match up. So I don't think it's something I'd be proud of. But I do remember my mom sent me a like graduation cap or whatever they're called, and like the diploma when it came, and I have a photo of me with like a mustache and like a grown man being like, I did it.
Sean Johnson in the backcountry, Stepchild, I feel like one of the greatest of all time.
Absolute legend. Yeah, insane that I got to spend time with him like that. Because I even remember when I was a shop rat, it was like when they were starting Stepchild, and it was like Sean Johnson, Graydon Kavanaugh, like these big posters of them. And I grew up, like my brothers watched the whiskey movies, so like I knew Sean Johnson from those wild days. So once I got to the point to film with them and Simone Chamberlain and Chris Wimble's, honestly, I should give a big shout out to Chris Wimble's because he helped me so much when I was in that like kind of introductory backcountry stage. But it was big, Sean Johnson. I mean, yeah, I think that's definitely like a staple and like somebody that helped curate the culture and community that we have in snowboarding for sure.
That had to be a pretty pivotal moment in your career because Stepchild was a cult classic, or child support rather. You have Ender.
It was like a half part Ender. It was like
you
me
the
and
last trick.
Wimbledon and I shared it. Yes.
Yeah. Cab 9. Step
9.
down. What's
it was
down
like
was that?
May 15th. Yeah. Like I'm sure if you listen to the audio, it is not good snow when I landed. It was like nowadays, you want me chucking off that? I'd be like, I don't know, man.
It's gonna be a no for me, dog.
It's gonna be a no.
Yeah. You know what made me realize how vintage that clip is when you see the snowmobiles in the landing and they're just like 03 Polaris.
The wide bodies, super wide ski-doos. Yeah. So I'm a ski-doo guy, not a Polaris
team
guy.
do.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Other company.
I must have saw the wrong sled.
Actually, that actually brings a funny story. Is my first snowmobile was one of Renzi's old ones. Yeah, I bought it off, like, I guess he sold it to a friend of his, Dre Morel, and then I bought it off Dre as my first snowmobile, and it was fucking shit kicked. Like solid beat up snowmobile. I'm sure he put it through the ringer. But yeah, it was a funny like full circle moment when I started spending time with Renzi.
And sorry, quickly. So we're talking about Stepchild video. You're on Burton, but you're still on Nomis, correct? That's why you're in the video.
Yeah, exactly. And that was cool because Nomis really gave me like, I was with Burton on the company and everything, but you're such a low level. You are not somebody they're like necessarily spending time and energy on. They're like, okay, great. We believe in your future. Now like go off and do your thing. And Nomis really helped me out there because they were doing like the child support video. They had Simone Chamberlain, Laurie Huskari, Jetta Anderson was on. Like I was a part of that community. And I think that really helped me grow outside of just the Burton world. And Nomis was, they were growing so fast. Like that was crazy those years with like those prints and patterns.
The plaid print hoodie.
That was a time.
You legally had to have one if you were a Canadian citizen.
Pretty much. Yeah. Speaking of trends, do you think that's going to come back? Do you think we're going to see like the Y2K era right now is back, the 90s baggy pants? I'm wearing baggier pants than like probably what I wore when I was in that age back then.
It's fashion's a circle.
Yeah. Yeah, but like thankfully they were doing that project, and that really helped me give like kind of a step outside of the Canadian sandbox world and really broke me on to that more international scene because they had so many like high level pro riders be a part of it. So I really think that helped me just in that like that growth stage of getting noticed, and then also Burton being like, oh, he's doing it on his own. He's working with other companies and growing. It's like he's not waiting for us to work with him. It's like he'll do it on his own if we're not going to do it. And I think they really respected that. So I appreciate Nomis for those years. Wouldn't have happened without them.
I'm curious what it was like being around Simone in the golden era. He was a golden god.
You know what? My favorite memories of Simone is that he was so good at pranks. Like so good at pranks. That whole like friends group would just nonstop prank each other. Do you guys remember the joke about if you say mine? Like, oh, like whose mug is that? It's like, oh, it's mine. And it's like, nope, not anymore because it's mine.
Yeah.
Like if you answered something that was like mine, it was like, no, that's a selfish answer. It's not yours anymore. You get to take it. So that was like a big like multi-year thing where you had to like really watch what you're saying or else you would just lose all your shit.
All right, we're going to interrupt this programming to talk about one of my favorite brands, Autumn Headwear. Their motto is Style Matters, and it shows. If you look at their team, they got some of the most stylish riders on the planet. It's rider-owned. This is a brand owned by snowboarders. Brad Alband is the genius behind it. He's done great work over there. And they have great fits on the beanies, most importantly. You know, here at the Bomb Hole, we love what we call a deep resi fit, the reservoir tip, so to speak. So they have the surplus fit, which is kind of a resi. They have the shorty fit, which is shallow. You might catch Silk D wearing one of those. They also have the simple fit that's right in between. And I was just on their website. The apparel is impeccable. So great company, rider owned. If you're interested in getting a great beanie this winter, head on over to autumnheadwear.com and use promo code BOMBHOLE for 20% off your order and keep that dome piece looking great with an autumn bonnet. All right, we got a special announcement from Gozney Pizza Ovens and the Bomb Hole. If you go on their site and you type in BOMBHOLE20, you'll get 20% off your Rock Box pizza oven, and these things kick ass. We just did a barbecue for Steven's birthday party. It was a surprise shindig. Kyle brought one of these things over. You plug it into some propane, you throw some dough with some toppings on it, and boom, a minute later, you got a delicious pizza. Cooks at 950 degrees. And I'll tell you, pizza tastes better when you cook it yourself. That's a scientific fact. You'll be a golden god at the cookout with a Gozney pizza oven. So be sure to check them out. They do cool stuff for snowboarding. They support events like Be Somebody, the Dust Box event, and they supported our event, Dogfight, showed up, cooked pizzas for everybody. They were all delicious. So definitely don't sleep on Gozney. It's a great gift for a loved one, great gift for yourself. If you like good food, get yourself a Gozney pizza oven for the backyard. They are awesome. And our special offer is if you go to Gozney.com and you use the promo code BOMBHOLE20, you will save 20% off your Gozney Rock Box. Again, BOMBHOLE20 for 20% off your Gozney Rock Box. You will not be disappointed. So check them out. Cook different with Gozney. All right, we're going to take a quick break and talk to you guys about Pub Beer. They are back as a sponsor. They're the official beer of Cheap Fun and also the official beer of the Bomb Hole. So if you're looking to have a good time with your friends, delete a few cans responsibly, I should say. Have one after work or maybe 14. Wake up in a bush covered in urine. Don't know your own name. Responsibly, I should say, for legal purposes. Choose Pub Beer. You won't regret it. So what ended up happening with Nomis, because you, at one point, were not riding for them anymore, I noticed.
Yeah, so have you guys really talked about like what happened with Nomis as far as like the company kind of not continuing? Okay, so... I
heard on Jody's show, but not on this show.
Yeah, I think, actually, you should do one with Simone. It'd be insane to get him in here. Basically, from my understanding, and I'll do a quick kind of like summary of it, they grew so fast that, you know, like the way companies work here is like they have to pay for their own like sampling production. And like, you know, they might get like shop orders for $200,000, but then they have to pay to go and make that gear. So they grew so fast that their shop orders were so big, they didn't have enough money to fund the actual production of the clothes to be able to sell it. So they brought in, I think they kind of like sold pretty much the whole thing to a larger company so that they could make those orders, fulfill those orders. And what happened was when that larger company came in, they started cutting out what they thought is like, you know, trimming the meat basically, like getting rid of like things they didn't want or whatever. And it was right around the time where I did this TV show. It was the Gene Simmons Family Jewels TV show.
Reality TV star Mark Sollors.
Which thankfully is not online anywhere from what I can tell. So yeah, reality star Mark. And actually I do have a copy of it on my computer that I keep just for memory's sake. Nice humbling moment when I need to go back there.
That Mark's book.
Yeah, so the big mistake I did, like it wasn't it was more of an unscripted show. It wasn't a reality show. So I was playing a character. They had like a fake dad for me. They said I worked 2 jobs at like, you know, at the Fairmont Hotel and all this kind of stuff. So it was a full on made up character. But my problem was where I made the mistake was they're like, do you want to change your name? I was like, no, I'll just use Mark. I think it'll be great. Like my snowboard is literally like a giant Nomis sticker, a giant Burton sticker. I was like, it'll be good in my head. What ended up happening was in the show, the character is getting sponsored by Gene Simmons, like clothing brand or something like that. And I was young, I was naive. I didn't really think about this. Obviously, I deserve to get fired. But basically, like those owners came in and they're like, you have voided your contract. You're representing a different brand. We're going to cut you. You're gone. You know, and the owners, like the original owners, like Matt Chamberlain and all of them, they had no part of this. Like those guys are legends. They're so great. This was one of those directors from up higher. So unfortunately, that was my first time I've ever been fired or dropped or anything. I took it like pretty personally. It was crazy. I remember like driving back to see my parents when I kind of had that, and I was like a 6-hour drive, and I was kind of like sulking in it, you know, and your mind kind of goes dark and you're like, nobody wants me, you know, like I'm done. But the huge thing that came from that is that honestly, Burton came and I told them, I was so scared to tell them. I was like, hey, I got dropped. You know, I was thinking they're like, oh, that's, you know, you got dropped. They didn't want
red
you. What do you
flag,
mean?
red flag. Yeah.
Exactly. And they were so amazing about it. They basically were like, hey, like, we're actually more excited about this because we can bring you on campaign shoots. We can include you in the streetwear programs that we're already doing that you weren't able to be a part of before. And I think it helped too that I was doing all this filming and all this like production stuff on my own before, you know, they started doing the work. And they welcomed me deeper into the company with open arms. And right there, I felt so supported. And I was like, great, I'm back. Let's go. Let's like everything I can do. Let's keep going.
Amazing.
Did you use, because you got dropped, I disagree with it. It was absolute bull.
Well, I got straight up fired. They said I voided my contract,
so
and they basically cut it up in front of me.
For a fake, ridiculous. I digress. Did you use that as inspiration because you get more into Burton and they invite you to some shoots, so you kind of have a little bit of a fire, right? It's not like, oh, I'm going to go try. You're like, I am going and I'm going to do some stuff. Yeah,
no, I think that's 100%. And honestly, like I have dealt over my life with like insecurities and stuff like that. So when somebody came from like, when I was like vulnerable like that and somebody came in, they're like, hey, no, we're excited about this. Like, please come and join us more, be more a part of it. I really took that to heart and I was like, okay, I'm welcome here. You know, like I can go and be myself more. I can like open up, like I trust them. And that's when, you know, the campaign started shooting like with streetwear, and I started getting invited to like their spring shoots and riding with like a lot of these other like more notable names than myself as like kind of like this potentially is like the new kid that's joining those names. And yeah, it was nerve-wracking being included, but I took every opportunity I could.
Incredible. So you finished filming Child Support, and then you eventually went to In Color. What did you do in between those years?
So Child Support, I did that video, but then I also did, I had like a half part in Sandbox as well that year, because there was actually like, I'm pretty sure Sansalone kind of, and this is like my maybe like miscommunication, but I'm pretty sure Sansalone told Burton that I was filming with them, and maybe I was unclear about me doing Stepchild or Noma's Child Support. So I ended up having a half part with Sandbox, and then the footage with Child Support that year. And then after that, I was kind of like not ready to, and this sounds really shitty. It's not that I was like, I didn't want to like go back to Sandbox. That's not the case. But I was kind of like, okay, like what is my next step forward? You know, like, and I just basically like filmed with whoever would invite me.
Not bad.
Not bad. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. That would have been, actually it was the next year, I think, where Eddie Grams was doing the movie. So that was 09. So 08, I think I just filmed with anyone that was around. And then it was 09 where I shot with Eddie Grams, and he actually hired Hayden Wrench. So I got to film a bunch with Hayden Wrench, which was fun. Him and I did a lot of one-on-one time in the street, so that was great.
Switch front board pretzel in that part. If you've never watched the not bod part from Eddie Grant,
Forgot about that.
One of your best rail clips of all time, I think.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That was like a ground driver of a rail too. It's almost like helped me though. Like if I remember correctly, like I come out of it and I hit the ground so hard, it's almost like a quick pivot.
Yeah.
It's like my edge almost like catches and like forces me to finish that 90.
I'd like to talk about another trick nerd situation. We didn't talk about, I think it's Child Support front 9 form step down. Or is that?
Yeah.
And then
I've done
you
that
did
twice
another. Yeah, you did it
again. I
again.
know.
There's two.
And I'm such a person where it's
People don't forget.
It's like, yeah, I'm such an already been done kind of person. And there I go, just like doing the same trick on the same jump that I myself did. But other people had front lined it before that too. I think it was, yeah.
So I heard that
I did anything I could to get shots back then.
10 years though, right? In between front nines. Somebody told me.
2007. And then it would have been the Burton project of 13, I think. I don't think it was 10 years. I think it might have been like 5 or 6 maybe.
I was going to say every 10 years you should go back and front nine it until you're like 70.
That would have been awesome. I wish I would have that, yeah. And then as soon as I can't do it, it's like hang them up.
Yep, exactly. I like that. Well, I think we should get into a fun segment of the show. This one is called Run Through Wall Trivia, and it's a special edition because it's presented by our good friend Jody Wachniak in the Airtime podcast.
Oh, boy.
All right, I'm going to hit the intro. Here we go.
Welcome to Run Through Wall Trivia.
You're fired.
Okay, so the concept is if you get a question wrong, you have to do a smelling salts.
I'm worried they got 3 in front of me here. How many questions are we talking?
I think it's 10. It's 10.
Yeah, and then also before we go, is it you snap it like that?
I prefer a pinch. I think that's the safest way to do it. Yeah, just this good old fashioned pinch.
Really? And it's going to pop just from that?
Yep. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Okay.
It's like telling someone to thumb gun something. I'm like, hey.
It's a thumb gun. Yeah, it's a thumb gun scenario.
You use your thumb and you gun.
Okay, question. Again, if you have a problem with this, take it up with Jody. He came up with these questions. Question number 1. You got 5 seconds to answer each one. Who held the highest score for Amped 2 online?
Rusty Ockenden.
That's correct.
Yeah, high score worldwide, internationally, when it was live.
That's insane.
Yeah.
For a long time.
And he would troll people too. Do you want a little story about that?
Yeah,
too?
I do
Okay,
wanna hear
great.
this.
So basically how he was doing it is he would like sequence, like everything was one combo, right? That's how you got like so many bonus points. And then he would rail rail to tree bonk to trick to whatever. And then all of a sudden near the bottom, there'd be a big open area and he would butter. And he would literally butter, zigzag back and forth for like 45 minutes. So it just kept tallying up. One time, I'm pretty sure his score got so high that it reset to 0 after he'd been playing for like 2 hours. But then it was live, so there'd be like chats and stuff like that. And he would tell people, like, they're like, how'd you get such a high score? He's like, oh, there's like hidden like Easter eggs. Like you run into trees and some of them will give you bonus points. So you'd sit there and you'd watch people running into trees all around them.
That is so legendary.
Oh, I love wrestling.
Highest score worldwide. Okay, question number 2. How many years has Mikey Rentz been on Burton?
What year is it? How old is he? I'm pretty sure he got on when he was 7. So he's got to be at like 31 years now or something. I'm going to say between 29 and 31.
That's correct. It's actually 30, which is directly between those.
That is actually the only number between them. So that's right.
I wanted to hit the buzzer so bad, but okay. What is the highest mountain in Canada?
Ooh.
I believe that's Mount Robson outside of Valemount.
Is it Mount
Is it
Alberta?
Waddington or something like that?
It's Mount Logan, guys.
Ah, I thought Logan was in
Mount Logan. Where's Mount Logan? Oh, that's in Yukon or some shit, isn't it?
Again, you're gonna have to take this up with Jody, guys.
All
You're gonna have
right.
to take
Am
this
I
up with
popping
Jody.
or do I wait till the end?
No,
to
no,
do
you
these?
hit it
Do it
now.
now.
Yep,
pop,
exactly.
lock, and drop it. Oh my god.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Right into
that
a
was
next one.
violent.
Yeah, he went in.
It changes color, dude.
Yep. Changes color. Who has Ender in Afterbang?
Oh, fucking fuck. It's
Video killed the radio star.
well then it's gotta be oh my god. Give me an extra couple seconds here. It's right there. He did all
not
the
American.
videos.
He's not
Oh my
American.
God. No, I know. It's David Benedict.
That's correct.
correct.
I knew he was in there. Good job.
I should start by prefacing this. It's like in front of everyone here, I'm so slow with my brain. If I was at
all
home,
three of
I
us?
would have been calling myself out there.
Yeah, there's somebody driving their vehicle just screaming David Benedict. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I apologize. That person was right. Whoever you were, you got it way faster than me.
Question number 5. Which Forum 8 rider used the song Mexican Radio?
Peter Line.
That's correct. What word did Jody
My
watch?
fingers, dude.
Yeah, don't touch your eyes.
Yeah,
don't touch your eyes.
Don't touch your eyes. What word did Jody Wozniak learn to yell in Japan?
Juxtaposition.
That's correct.
Juxtaposition. I said it once and he didn't understand it, and now he just yells it.
Does he understand it now?
I don't know, because sometimes it's like not the right context. It's like the when in Rome joke, when in Rome. You're like, that's not actually.
Go
what
on.
you need.
Yeah.
What trick did Mikkel do on the hip you hit together in color?
Oh, wow. Great question.
I don't know what the proper. It's a backside 180, but it's like backside 270 because it's on his backside hip.
In half pipe rules, it'd be a back three. People would call
back
it.
three.
But yeah, that you got it right.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And he went bigger than me too. It's so impressive.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I watched it again.
Well, he had longest distance.
You went further. You went higher.
Further, yeah.
You went higher.
You did a method on that bad, Larry.
Yeah.
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 And a delayed one. I don't usually
Delayed.
do
That's
those.
what I actually almost wanted to ask.
Yeah, it's
What
not
was
a usual thing for me.
It was just good fundies, just wait.
I think I was like kind of struggling on that because I was drifting. So I would like wait until I knew I was like landing in a right spot, and then I would tweak.
Delayed
'Cause
onset
I feel
methods.
like I didn't ride a ton of hips. So like as you went bigger, I wouldn't necessarily correct for like the straighter line. And I'm not one of those people that like moves over to the left. Like a lot of people ride like that. They'll take off at the center of the hip and then they have it calculated. I'm kind of more like right along the coping, but personal.
I'm glad we got to the bottom of that. Who did a backside 270 on the Glen Rose down rail?
Eddie Wall.
That's correct.
Yeah.
He also did cab 270.
That's correct. Powder jumps, hip jumps, bad falls, worst concussions. Is that part or promo copy? It's promo copy, wrong one. Sorry, that's derelict. I digress. Who won best trick at Supernatural 2012?
Oh, fuck. Was 2012 the one I was in, or was that 2011?
I don't know the answer to that. more
So
of a you
it's
question.
either gonna be, it's either gonna be
You would know it.
Giggy's. It's either gonna be Giggy's frontside 3 tap. I think that's I think that's the only one. I think I gotta stick with Giggy's frontside 3 tap on the tree. It's not. Maybe it was the big ass eagle pillow tap that Nico did. Ah, damn it! All right. Do I hit this one
Correct
again?
answer
or do I-
is
gotta
John
do a new one.
Jackson. John Jackson backside 1080.
Oh, that's right.
You're doing
Sorry,
good.
John.
You're so
Sorry,
far.
John.
You're.
You got to
2
do a
for
new
8?
salt. New one.
Yeah, that was 9. So
Give rules.
he's 7 for 9, I believe.
Respiratory stimulant for inhalation.
Last question. Who is the Jedi Master that trains Luke Skywalker?
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's correct. And that has been.
Played by the Ewan McGregor in a lot of stuff.
Yep. This is that's a little
In the
bonus
new ones, at
bonus
least.
points.
Holy-
Fantastic. Good job.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a celebratory?
I would love the little
7
Sellies.
for 10's not bad.
We call them Selly salts here.
Selly salts, yeah. You got one, Sel?
Oh, they get like wet too.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
oh, so I like that you're doing it too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Silk gets in there.
It's in my contract.
All right, we're
I
talking
feel
about.
like I need to move a little this way. Sorry, I naturally just look right at Craig here.
Yep,
but
that's fine.
You're technically the
There's no problem with that. We have a question from none other than Mikey Cicerelli. I thought talking about that method, he talks about fundamentals. Let's get into a Mikey C question. Here we go.
Yeah, Mark, stoked to see you in the bomb hole with the crew. Hopefully you're having a fun chat with Chris and Craig. Nice to see all the Canadians out there getting the bomb hole love. I had a question for you. You have some of the best fundamentals in the game by far, and I'm always so blown away by like every little nuance from your ollies to your front threes to the way you pop and land. I'm curious, where did that come from at a young age? Were you doing it, or is there a mentor or coach? I'm just curious because you're so dialed with it, and I want to know the backstory of it all. Stoked to hear the bomb hole, and hopefully you guys are having a blast. Peace.
What a guy. What a guy. I love little Psycho, man. He's such a good kid. He's like a little sponge too. It's like that's a very fitting question for him because like when we started taking him out in the backcountry, he's like, you could just see, he was like a little kid. Like you could just see in his eyes, he was learning the whole time. And it was like, and he's one of those people where it's like, you're watching him learn and he's correcting and he's following that, you know? It's not like he's like listening and then making mistakes. So what a little legend. Thanks, Mike. The fundamentals, yeah. I don't know exactly where, like, let's say about like, yeah, like the way I ride my snowboard. I don't know exactly where I would say like those fundamentals came from. I think I'm just like a constant overthinker and analyzer where I think about every little detail and I watch like so closely all the videos about how everything is done so that, because, you know, like snowboarding is like an individual sport. So it's not like somebody can really tell you exactly what's going on. You need to like watch it and mimic it and understand it in your own body. And so I think I just like spent so much time thinking about every little detail that's maybe where some of it came from. And then honestly, like I've said before, I'm a product of watching Devin Walsh, you know, like everything he does, how slow he is, seems like every movement has like a purpose, you know, and I started really just like honing in on how he does things. And that's probably the best answer I could have. Yeah.
And just as watching somebody who has watched you snowboard in the park a ton, you don't do a bunch of different tricks. Like when you ride the park, you're very intentional of what you're doing, right? Like if it's a front three, we're going to do it as big as we can. We're going to pop. Like I feel like your repetition is so much higher than a lot of other snowboarders. Is that true?
Thanks, man. Yeah. I really believe it's like the better you can do like step 1, the better step 2 and step 3 and step 4 are going to all come together. So it's like, if you just go and hit the jump and are practicing popping and like you understand your snowboard, you understand the lip and snapping and everything feels right, that as soon as you switch to doing like a front 3 and that snap stays very similar, it's like that's going to make everything else easier. You're going to have proper height. You're going to be able to be like visually see the landing more. Your trick's going to come together better. And then you step from that front 3 with all those basic fundamentals to a front 7 or a front 5 or whatever. That snap is still going to be there. You're still chasing that same feeling, and then it's just going to be a little bit different of like your shoulder or where you're looking, and it's like those things just come together and you're more comfortable and more confident as your spins and tricks get bigger. So I really believe that it's like the fastest way to learning something new is making sure that you have all those foundations and fundamentals dialed before you go into that trick.
If I may, one more question on fundies. I think you have incredible fundies on the snowboard, but as well as in your professional career, where did you learn how to be such a professional? Because I feel like you do it almost better than anybody in terms of showing up for brands, understanding how to be a pro snowboarder, right? You can learn how to do all the tricks properly, but you also got to learn how to build a career properly. Was that inspired by anybody or anywhere?
Yeah, I think, great question, Craig. Yeah, great question.
Great. It was. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I think, again, I say I think because it's like there could be other sources of it, but to the best of my answer right now, I'm going to answer it the way I feel. But I think it is like a combination of a few things. Like I really believe like success is in the details. Like the harder you work towards something, the more you think and focus on like the little things, those are going to be the things that get you above something else, you know, and have a better result or better product or whatever, you know. It's like the more you focus on those little things, that's where it's going to be the difference between success and failure. I also really love the quote from Jake Burton where he's like, Burton's made every mistake in the book, but we haven't made that many twice. And I think that's such a great way to look forward in things. You know, it's like we talked about coming in here, you know, like a little bit nervous, but it's like, hey, you can make mistakes. That's fine, you know, and we'll fix it. But it's like same thing like with life. It's like it's okay to make mistakes. Learn from them so you don't make them again. And then as you continue to like learn and get new skills, it's like those mistakes happen less and less, and you're able to consistently deliver something better. And then thirdly, I really think, like I mentioned quickly about like having some insecurities when I was younger. It's like I really felt, and I still sometimes feel like everything is at like a level above, you know, where it's like I feel like I'm not quite good enough, or I'm not quite like there's always like a feeling of me where I need to do a little bit better to deserve something. And I feel like I'm so fortunate in this space and in the life I have that I constantly feel like I need to do a little bit better. You know, like a season ends and they're like, how was your year? And I was like, well, it's good, but like I missed out on a lot of things. And next year, like I want to go back and fix that same thing. It's like if we're working on product, they're like, it's a great product. And I'm like, yeah, but I also feel like I'm missing this. Like I think now that I'm riding it more, it's like this is a good way to fix that or like to work towards things. So I kind of feel like that kind of like, it sounds weird because it almost sounds like negative, but it's like that feeling of like, I'm not good enough is almost my drive towards wanting to always perform better. And I think that's where a lot of it comes from.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. Holy smokes.
Yeah. I just hope that didn't come across of like I don't feel like negatively towards myself. Like that's not like a self-deprecating thing, but it's a constant kind of like motivation to me to do better.
Yeah, I think there's something that I see a lot too in pro careers is like sometimes somebody makes it onto the pro team, they establish themselves and they stop pedaling, so to speak. Like if you're on a bike, they've pedaled really hard to get there, and then they get there and they start coasting. And it seems like you've always just kept pedaling.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I did go through a stage in my career where I was like, this is what it took. I made it, and now I'm here. And then you kind of go off the gas for a minute. And then you start realizing you're like, oh, I'm not there. It's not like a destination, you know? It's a constant grind. And there's like every career, there's like waves to it where you're up on top and you're down below. So it's like there was like a stage in my career where I felt like I was like, I made it. I'm here. I can chill. And then within like a year, it was like the reminder of like, oh, no, you're not here. There is no here, you know? It's this constant progressing future of like changing. And you never know like what the industry is doing. And if you're going to continue in this career that we're all fortunate to be a part of. So yeah, it's always changing.
Well said.
Yeah, very well said.
Hey, we were talking about Mikey C. Silk. We got a Patreon question. That last one is kind of money in regards to Cicerelli.
Yeah, we want to thank all our Patreon members as well. Thank you so much for your support.
Craig, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, Craig, you want to do that?
I mean, I think that the Patreon members are a family, right? And snowboarding is a giant family, and they're our extended family. And without family, you get nowhere. And this show has gotten somewhere. All thanks to family. So thanks to our Patreon members for being part of the family.
Well said.
And we're always looking for new family members too, right?
Yeah.
You get to choose this family.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. I couldn't agree more. No, seriously, we couldn't do this show without you guys, though, and it kicks ass. And thanks for saying that, Craig.
Yeah, okay. This question is from Sam Marcotte.
Oh, nice.
You spent a lot of time showing Mikey Cicerelli the ropes in the backcountry, which he has credited in multiple podcasts. Is there anything that you learned from Mikey on or off the snowboard in the entire time that you've known him, going all the way back to when you had him as a camper at COC?
Nice. Sam's a legend. Great. Thank you, Sam, for the question. So quick backstory with that, because Sam would know about it. But when I was coaching at COC, Mikey Cicerelli was my camper one time. And he was the only one that I let hit the big jumps. And he back sevened it when he was like 12 or 13 or whatever. Every other camper would be like, I want to hit it. And I was like, well, let's warm up on this one first. Psycho wanted to hit it, and I let him hit it. But as far as learning from Mikey, yeah, I feel like I continually learn from younger generations because they always have a different outlook on what I had growing up, potentially, because times change so much. And Mikey, I think, has really brought his coaching into the backcountry, his ability to, I don't know how to properly articulate this, but like envision the future and like create the future that he wants. Like, he's done such a good job of knowing what he wants, focuses on it, visualize it, practices things that will help him get to that goal. You know, like if we're talking natural selection, it was like he rode so much just like random side hits on the resort. He would go up to the Alpine by himself, not on the backcountry by himself, like on resort, and hit these jumps that had like poor landings and bumpy landings so that he's ready for the variable conditions that you deal with on a natural selection backcountry course. And that helped him be ready for natural selection. I mean, I have this thing where it's luck is just preparation meets opportunity. And I think he embodies that so well because we can say he's like, oh, like the way it worked out for him at natural selection is lucky, but it's like, no, it's not. He worked so hard to make sure he was ready for all that. And then the opportunity arose and he thrived. Mm-hmm. So I would say there's obviously so much. I can't think of it right off the bat, but like that's really what I feel like he's done such a great job with his his mental ability.
Also, if you think about our, generation, like I almost feel like our cab 9 is almost like their cab 12. Our back 7 is like a back 10 to them because those contest kids that came up later, that the tricks were bigger. I'd imagine riding with him pushes the envelope on big tricks too.
I kind of let him take control of that. Almost like put me in my lane where
you got this
he's
one?
like, I think I'm going to cab 12 this. And I was like, sick. I'll go hit that cliff in front 3 it.
Yeah, there it is. Nice. Love that. You also mentioned that you are a product of Devin Walsh, and we just so happen to have a guest question from none other
from Devin?
than Devin Walsh. Here we go.
Holy shit.
Hey Mark, Devin here. Stoked to hear you're on the bomb hole. It'd be rad to hear you chat about that time when we flew to Berlin and played in that snowboarder versus skateboarder versus skier golf tournament, and all the fun we had biking around town. And yeah, enjoy the show. Stoked to hear it. Cheers.
I just like, I'm just gonna revel in this for a second. And it's so sick that he brought up that trip too, because that was like not to share too much information, but the only reason I did that trip was because Devin was going. He's like, "You want to go to this golf tournament?" I was like, "Are you going?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Fuck yeah!" Like, I'm gonna fly to Berlin to go play golf. It's like, I love golf, but like, I wouldn't normally do that. And man, like I said, like he really shaped my life. I think he knows that probably. I don't think I've ever like really told him, because it'd be a weird thing to say. He's gonna probably hear it now, but
Probably.
But like, that was so cool. Like, how often do you get to go on a trip with like literally the person that you grew up since when you were little looking up to, and then getting to snowboard with them and have this career, and then go on a golf trip with them. And like at the time, I wasn't even that good at golf. I think I was like, in the bio, it was like, tell us about yourself. And I was like, one time I played golf without losing a ball. And I was like, that was like, yeah. Everyone was so good. And I was like, ooh, out of my element. But yeah, that was like a really, really special time. I'm like very thankful that he invited me to be a part of that. And like, yeah, like biking around, like we sat on like the park right by the river in front of this like old dome church and just like drank some beers and just chatted. And it was like just one-on-one with your idol. And you're like, and it didn't go bad. Like, that's almost the best part. Like, I came out of it and like, that was awesome. Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you, Devin, for everything that you did.
Staying on the Devin conversation, we kind of left off right before you're about to start filming in color. He's a major part of that video. Can you talk about just like maybe the fall before knowing I'm going to be in the Transworld movie, huge opportunity. I am going to be in the same movie as Devin Walsh, Ika Backstrom, just to name a few. What was that kind of fall and leading up to it? I also understand you were going through a relationship breakup.
Oh, we don't need to talk about that. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's like everyone goes through hard times in your life, and it's like there's certain things that motivate you. And it was one of those things that, I went through a shitty breakup, and that was a huge catalyst for what made me want to work hard that year. So, yeah, we call them breakup years. It's a very common thing. I think you guys have touched on it too. It's like a lot of riders go through that where they just take all that like energy and kind of motivation and whatever kind of feelings you have towards that relationship and then just put it into something else. But the Devin Walsh thing was amazing. I mean, that was like my first very large, high-profile cast of snowboarders. And obviously I had fucking, what was it called? Imposter syndrome for that one. That was a crazy one. I did not feel like I belonged there at all, but they all welcomed me in so much. I got to hit like a few jumps with Devin too, which was insane, watching like his kind of like actions towards how he approaches jumps and how he builds them, and then watching him like firsthand do some of the tricks that with the same style that I grew up watching was like a surreal moment. But yeah, I think it was like, man, I spent half the year with like the rail guys first, because I was still doing like full on like street stuff on the steel. Miss those days. Sorry, Granny. Don't happen anymore. And then yeah, it just like that year was like everything and anything I just said yes to. I felt uncomfortable in the backcountry on certain jumps, and I just hit them anyways and just went for it. Like there's nothing really holding me back. And honestly, that as far as like catalyst goes, like if we're talking about like certain things that change your life, that right there, that year was, I can't even imagine where I would be. Like that was one thing that took me from this rise of like, will he be a Canadian professional snowboarder? Where will he sit in the industry? Will he fade away? To all of a sudden, like a full on the gas, early Tesla stock rising type of thing, And then I'm very thankful for everyone that helped me be a part of that year.
You said you were kind of like intimidated and feling that imposter syndrome, but you'd filmed with Hayden Wrench, aka Bobby Boudoir,
aka Hayden the Tool Wrench,
aka the big fella. The year before, was having somebody that you were a little bit acquainted with helpful?
Yeah, thanks. That's actually going to help me a lot with how I answered this, so I appreciate that, Greg. So the year before, you're already worth it being here. not just me getting to spend time with you. So the year before I spent time with Hayden in the streets, and I actually think he really helped me get into that crew because he was going to be one of the filmers for Transworld. And I think it was a combination of him vouching for me, Carlino being on board, the sponsorship with Monster and with Burton, and it all really coming together. And starting the year off with Hayden, you know, going to Quebec together, going to Calgary together, I think that was like a comforting way of being introduced to like a star-studded kind of movie. And that really helped me, like, and I had a great start to the year too. So I think that was like, okay, I'm like collecting a good amount of shots. Like the rails are going down, like we're hitting good spots. We're not getting kicked out. You know, that was December and January. So by the time I switched over to the more intimidating crew when I was starting to spend time in the backcountry, I think I already had some confidence under me knowing that I was sitting on some good footage. And that helped me get past that. Like, even if it was just like, I'll go and enjoy this and I'll watch them and I'll be a part of it and I'll learn. I think that helped me get there. And then they were so great with helping me in certain areas that it just took off. Yeah.
Now, speaking with Renzi yesterday, he was mentioning how basically there's some iconic shots in that video, but you're jumping into some shit snow. And
to put it nicely.
From what I hear, there was a bunch of crews out there. Nobody even thought about snowboarding because it was psychotic, but you were like so possessed by the devil to film an insane part that you were just going for it. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, because it's very true, because everyone was like pretty shook after the day I had. Because I want to go back and just say, like, a lot of those like catalysts and like the things that have like helped accelerate my career is thanks to the people that were around me that pushed me when I was uncomfortable and I was about to shy away. They helped me get past that point. They knew I was capable of doing something. I just needed that little bit of push. And I would say that day in specific, specifically, thank you. Corey Kaniniak, who was a Burton filmer at the time, he was one of those people that really pushed me, you know, where it was like, we were running out of days, like the season's over. I was sitting on good footage, and it was like, we had this opportunity to hit Stepmother, which is in shitty snow, and then this other like glacier gap that we built the day before, which was also into shitty snow. So we had Stepmother that was going to be on in the morning because it was early, like east facing, and then the afternoon was going to be the glacier gap because it was kind of southy. And basically, I rode by myself. No one else wanted to ride. Corey was like, no pressure, but like these are opportunities going to help you get past that. Like, he had a good year to he had a great year. Like kind of one of those like stamps, you know?
You're looking for enders kind of situation?
Looking for enders pretty much, you know? And he was right. It was like the end of the year. Like, if it doesn't work out, then it's like no harm done. The season's over. Go have a summer, you know? Do whatever you want. But because I was riding by myself, I told him, I was like, I know this snow is shitty. So the only way I was going to hit it is if I straight aired the jumps first. So I'm like ready for it. Because if I'm going like cab 9 or front 9 or whatever right off the bat, and I come around in an awkward position in shitty snow, it's like, that's just a recipe for getting, you know, potentially hurt. So I hit both of those jumps, which are like some fairly large jumps. For
extremely large.
Okay.
As big as it gets.
Yeah.
Just like,
we're going to be honest. The biggest. Yeah.
That's mother.
Yeah.
Come on.
Full straight air. Just big, shifty, and right into the snow. And then, you know, like right away, my instinct was like, oh, that sounds bad. I don't want to hit it. And Corey was like, dude, the shot looks sick. He's such a hype man. You know, he's so good about that. Yeah. And I was kind of like feeling that like push a little bit. And I was like, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And sure enough, I got a front 9 that day. And then we went over and I got the cab 9. And like, yeah, that was like, you can kind of see it in the cab 9. I like land and I'm doing like this on the ride out. Cause it was one of those like I knew the season was over. I knew that was like it was like April 16th or something, like super shitty snow. The forecast looked terrible. And I was like, that was it. Kind of like, your season's over and you worked your ass off and you came out of it without an injury and you're fucking like, whatever happens next, I was like, you did your best. And that was like one of those like moments where you can see it. And even when I watch it, I still feel it, you know? It's like, I'm a little embarrassed by it because it's almost like a claim, but it was one of those like very honest kind of like, holy fuck, Mark, you did something you didn't think you could do. So.
Okay, were you more scared for the straight air or the front 9 on Mother? Because to me, the straight air is way fucking scarier.
I enjoy straight airs.
Really?
So no, I wasn't. I mean, it was either the Stepmother or the Glacier one where there was a little bit of a wind, and I remember getting like the shoulder turn, you know, that like straight air, and it's like so big, you're like, but no, it worked out fine. But yeah, I love straight airs.
So are you? I've been told by people that you straight air wedges when you're not sure. or step down.
I mean, I think that's like the easiest thing for me to I get it where there's like, it's saved a landing, backcountry jumps, there's not a ton of landings. You go for your hard tricks right away when the landing's the best. But for me, it's like, I don't know how we were talking about like fundamentals and getting comfortable. And it's like I need to feel like I am inherently kind of like right on the edge of confidence. So like if straight airing that jump, if I'm the one that goes first and that's what's going to help me get confident to be like, this is something I can do now. I know the timing, I know everything. Then I'm going to do it unless somebody, they don't want me to or whatever. But
I think it's, and this may be an ice cold take, I think it is one of the weirdest things where it's like, okay, a straight air, you can angle to the left. Let's say you're just angling to the left. You're going to save the entire landing for anybody that's spinning. You now know the speed, because the only thing that I really get scared about is being like, okay, I'm doing a trick the first try off a jump if I make the landing, because we don't know how fast, we have an estimation, but once somebody straight airs it, usually lands, so it's a thin little landing, doesn't really wreck the landing. Like, I don't know why we don't do it more. Whenever I'm hitting a jump by myself, always straight air it.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay,
what
I'm
about
going to
poppy jumps?
I think it and I should say that it's not
I'm curious.
It's
you
not
don't straight
every
air
jump.
You don't straight
It's
air
not every
poppy
jump.
jumps, right? Like, because that's.
I mean, it depends.
I mean,
it really varies on every feature. And like this year, I think did I straight air anything? I don't think I did. Oh no, I did. There's one gap. Well, you'll see it in the video when it comes out. But yeah, I straight aired that because I was unsure. It was like this transition finder where it was like really, really kind of like short landing. And yeah, I'm going to straight air that. If I'm going to the bottom, I'm going to know I'm about to hit the bottom. I don't want to like be spinning a 7 where you get like 2 quick looks and be like, oh, I think I'm good. And then all of a sudden you're like lying flat on your back. So I don't know. It's one of those like, it varies on the jump. Sometimes I'll just go straight into tricks. If it's something I'm unsure about, or like there's a higher risk of something going wrong when you're in speed assessment mode, then yeah, like fuck it, I'm going to straight air. Like who cares? Why not?
Make yourself more comfortable to be successful on the jump.
Yeah.
It's simple math.
Yeah.
I love it. I didn't even know that was an option. I didn't know that. Like for the way we were raised, it's like, wait, I didn't know you can straight air it.
Yeah, like you said, it's like one of those things where for like in the old days, I feel like, and even now, it's like people are like, don't waste a landing on a straight air, like go straight into your trick. But for me, like I said, like I think as long as everyone else is okay with it, if I'm having a group session or if I'm riding by myself, I know this is something that's going to help me towards success. So I may as well do it. The confidence is going to come right back. I'm going to be able to do the trick better because I'm not going to be like looking twice as long at the landing to make sure I'm good, when I'm doing stuff. So I don't know. You got to know yourself, right? Like that's something that helps me.
Yeah.
And
not on everything, but if it makes you land a trick quicker, then do it.
Plus, I'm old, man. You got to warm up. Like in the park, I do like multiple runs of straight airs. Kids just go straight into 10s. I'm like, oh man, that would kill my back.
Let's keep talking about in color because that part monumental.
Thank you.
Cab 5 ice gap ender snowmobile tow. UC Oxenden. Go.
That one I feel like I almost killed UC. We're going to talk about UC doing that. But yeah, that was probably one of the most sketchy things I've done. The jump itself, I wasn't afraid of at all. Because it was like, the gap wasn't that big. Yeah, it was a step down and there was like obviously like a gut that you can't fall into. But the jump itself to get over wasn't very far. So I felt very confident going off of it. But snowmobile towing, inconsistent speed, having to slam on the brakes where your snowmobile is almost going over into like the crevasse. And then not only that, like the landing, like it's all powder, but you can see in our tracks, it's blue underneath there. We were actually landing on like a foot and a half of snow, and then it was literal glacier ice underneath that. So it was super impactful. Like you can see, I like fully maxed out at my landing. And yeah, with UC, it was cool. He actually was the one that found it. We had split groups that day, and we were going to do some other jump, and I was like, I want to go hit that. I went over and met him that was like, a couple kilometers in a different area, like in Rutherford. And I asked him, I was like, hey man, like I really want to go ride this. I know you found it. Do you want to come hit it with me? Are you okay if I hit it? And he was like, yeah, go get it ready. I'll come and hit it with you. And we did it together, which was so awesome of UC. But yeah, I went too slow on the snowmobile once and he barely made it over. That would have been a low point in my career.
Who went first?
I did. Yeah.
Were you scared or?
No, I think I did a half cab.
Do you ever get
it.
nervous?
You ever get nervous?
I get nervous in unnecessary reasons. It's like, yeah, come to the bomb hole, you're talking. Oh boy. Get on a glacier gap where you look over, I'm like, oh, that's not that far, it's fine.
That's true.
Cab 150 Edmonton wooden down bar in this part. Is that one of your only press tricks you ever filmed?
Wow, great question, Craig.
Thank you.
Great question.
Great question. I guess probably, yeah.
I was just saying,
Nothing's coming to mind. You're right.
Yeah, I love that clip.
Maybe, and it's not even that press, so maybe that's why it's my only press.
It's pretty press.
Okay, another notable. I'd like to get into another notable. Triple kink. Some people might call it something else. Whatever. The kink rail, you hit 50-50 steep dogger. Gnarly low lip. Love that shot.
Thanks.
Gnarly low
yeah.
lip. This is your lip. It's
one snowflake.
Yeah.
One single snowflake.
Yeah.
That one, again, it's like one of those things. I wasn't that afraid of it. I mean, it's big, it's gnarly, but it was wooden stairs. The flats were short, so I feel like they weren't this like hit them. You know how like long flats, it's like you go through them and you readjust on the flats and then you go to the down. This was almost like one of those like you hit them and you absorb it and you're either like in line for your next one or you're not. So it's like as you go through them, you hit them, you're ready to absorb it and just kind of go through it and then you reset on the next one. And then, yeah, that third one was actually, that second flat, I guess, was pretty gnarly. It was
It's
buck.
the gnarly. I hit that rail, dislocated my shoulder on it. Yeah.
Did you? Wow.
That shot is so wild because you see how steep it is, but when you're actually hitting that rail, like you're getting 10 feet off the rail in the air if you buck off.
If you buck off.
Yeah. And I thought,
there's
how
a
many
couple
tries?
buck off. I'm pretty sure a while. Yeah, I think it took a bunch of. I think actually, if I remember correctly, it took me a long time to like commit to it. Like I was doing the classic like onto the down, off the flat, and off to the side, you know. And it was to get into that moment of like over the flats, and then you're like, okay, we have another one coming. Like let's get ready for that. I think that took me a little bit of time to get ready for.
Good fundies. Now, do you find yourself slowing down a little bit in your older age? Maybe getting off hill a little earlier? Well, you could be dehydrated. 75% of Americans are dehydrated. And that goes up when you're at elevation, when you're in the mountains. So I drink Bubs Hydrate or Die hydration packets. There's 2,000 milligrams of electrolytes. There's no added sugar. There's no artificial flavors. Let me tell you, when I'm hydrated, I ride better. I can ride longer. I have more energy. All in all, my vitality is just better. So if you're interested in picking up some Bubs Naturals Hydrate or Die, head on over to bubsnaturals.com and use promo code BOMBHOLE for 20% off your order. And stay hydrated, people, with Bubs Naturals Hydrate or Die. All right, let's take a quick break and talk about Yeti. They got a new cooler. It's called the Roadie 15, and it's perfect for all of your essentials. You can throw it on the front of an ATV, throw it on your paddleboard or a kayak. It's also really light. You can carry it down to your beach, or you can go fishing with it. Great cooler, weighs less than 10 pounds empty. There's also ample space to fit a 12-pack of standard cans with ice. So those bevs stay cold wherever your adventure takes you. They got all types of technology in this thing too. They got the new double-duty strap, which means you don't need to use your hands. You can throw it over your shoulder. They got good handles. They got the non-slip feet for the back of your truck. They got a drain plug if you want to hose the thing out if it gets nasty. They got tie-down slots. And the best thing about the Yetis is the permafrost insulation. So they're the best coolers. They keep those bevs ice cold on a hot summer day. Check out their website if you want to learn more about the Yeti Roadie 15.
Okay, so besides the Cab 9, what is your favorite trick in that part?
I would say, and I've answered this before, and it's kind of a weird one to say, but I think my favorite one was that nollie 3 over the bench, because I grew up watching like so many skateboard videos as well. So for me, it was such like, I had like such a skateboard vibe, and Hayden was doing follow cam on that, where like I love follow cam footage. So for me, that one like kind of stood out as like really fun, and it has like great energy too. I remember like I watch it still, and I'm like so happy when I land, and the camera's like right in my face. It's kind of like the reminder of like, you were happy, Mark. You know?
Oh, dude, you're happy in all the shots riding away.
Yeah.
If you zoom in, like all the rail shots where it zooms in on your face, you got a huge smile.
Yeah,
which is
I'm just
legendary.
Fucking happy guy sometimes, you know.
Did you break your finger really badly on a very similar feature to that?
Oh my god. That I think would have been the year before.
Okay.
But I was riding with Jay Kuzik, and I was trying this like front blunt same way on a down to like less down.
Yeah.
And I came off like on the inside switch, and I put my hand on the rail thinking it was on there, but my hand actually went down below it and it hit one of the support beams. And so it was this finger here. I like broke it or dislocated it or whatever. And it was so cold. It was in Alberta, so it was like minus 30 or something. And it was like, I would look at my finger and it'd be like kicking out sideways. And we just like broke it and popped it back in place and taped it up, and I was good to go. Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to go back to...
I've done that twice.
In color? Oh, you broke your finger again?
Yeah, because on the In Color year, that spring is when they had the games, like grenade games up in Whistler. And I fucking tried to straight line a mogul field. And I'm pretty sure I broke this one. So I had it all like taped up there too.
Okay, before we get into that though, there's a couple other things. I think that video part should be a case study for anybody filming a video part that wants to be a quote unquote ATV. Because you have front 10 on a cheese wedge. You got method on a massive hip. You got giant kink rails. You got cab 9 ice glacier gaps. Like you got tech, you got big, you got streets, you got park. It's just such a blend. The Nollie 360, like it really is a case study of the opus of a video part. I'm sure you got to be proud of that one.
I am. I'm obviously that's like the one I'm like most proud of. I feel like just because of like we're talking about Catalyst and how it like literally changed my life, and I was in such like an interesting time in my life, and that was like such a positive thing that came out of it. And it's funny you mentioned like the ATV stuff, because like I was saying earlier, you know, like where I was raised in Kelowna, like that's what we would go and do. We would drive, like my friends that got licenses, we would drive around to the schools and like hit rails, you know, and like we'd go up in Big White and like ride like, you know, like a cat track jump and like build it into like a powder landing. We would try cat track gaps because we knew that was like a rage. My friend Shane landed on the road once. That was pretty crazy. But that was like, that literally is like what I've been doing my entire like snowboard experience. And then it just all came together in that 1 year where, you know, rails early season, backcountry mid-year, spring park in the summertime. And it was like the evolution of what you can do snowboarding. Like you're kind of the same person you are when you're younger. You just grow and learn and get better and change subtly. But that's like the things that made me happy growing up is what helped completely shape my life.
Cool. Now going back to the, you know, how it catapulted your career, you know, the year before I did Get Real, that was a part that catapulted my career.
Insane
and
part.
if you look, thank you. And if you look back in those times, Transworld is a powerhouse.
Yeah.
And it is really, they put a lot of firepower behind these videos. They're heavily promoted, premieres, brands, a lot of people saw them. They got in front of a lot of eyes. It seems like relatively overnight, that part probably had an immense effect on your career.
Oh yeah. Like literally, like not just like, you know, how I was saying, you know, like being kind of welcomed into like, okay, he's like the new Burton guy or whatever, like the years before being invited on this stuff. And then that came out, and it was right when Burton was starting to make movies. So they're like the next year, I believe, was Standing Sideways. The year after that, they did 13. They were making a big push into like, let's remind everyone that Burton has like some of the best snowboarders in the world. Let's make these team movies and these projects. And so after that part came out, it was funny. There was like meetings about, they're like, oh, like Mark's part was filmed like a lot in Pemberton. Like we got to spend more time in Pemberton, you know? And I was like, I think I was like halfway through my contract at the time that was like a very like amateur contract. And Brian Knox, who was like kind of like the media, like brand manager at the time, he literally came up and he was like, hey, I don't think your contract's where it's supposed to be. We want to utilize you more in these Burton movies. And he like cut up that contract. He's like, we're going to draft you a new one and pay you what we think you deserve. And you're going to have a big future in like the movies that we're going to start making moving forward, which is
Unheard of.
Yeah.
Maybe air
Like
horn. Maybe air
unheard
horn
of.
for
Yeah,
that.
big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah, that again is another thing that changed my fucking life. You know, like I can't thank him enough. You know, like I still get to see him every now and then, and it's like those are, and it's not like he did that to like be nice or whatever. It's like he's like, that's the value that we see, and we want to correct this. You know, which is insane that companies stand by that. That they're like, okay, great, like we're utilizing you this much. We need to make sure that you are paid the right amount for how much we're using you. And I think that's a stand-up job. Stand-up job, Brian Knox.
Respect, putting the riders first. Love to see it.
Can we move forward from in color? Because I think the spring of that is insane. You talked about breaking your finger in a mogul field at the Grenade Games in Whistler, which you end up driving away from that in a Camaro. How do we get there?
Again, the year that changed my life. So that was my first year on Monster Energy. I got the contract in 2009. So it was like wrap that up, but then the official full year would have been my in color part. And then them bringing Grenade Games up, Monster was a huge part of that. You know, they hosted everyone. They had these great events. And they're like, you know, like Grenade Games is like a play on a traditional thing. So there's like the modified half pipe. There's border style where it's like a race and a slope style all in one. And then there was one in classic style. It was the dual mogul slalom. So you're racing against someone through gates down a mogul field, which is just pure chaos.
Great concept.
Yeah, great
Insane
concept. It was so much fun. And actually, I should preface the story by saying the night before was like the welcoming dinner kind of thing at Sushi Village. And it just so happened to be on my birthday, which is April 20th. So I had everyone from Grenade Games, like so many friends, like the new team, like I've been on for a year, and that entire restaurant like sang me happy birthday. Like it was such like a heartwarming kind of thing, you know, to be like welcomed onto the team like that. And then the next morning, obviously I'm like hungover because it was young Mark trying to celebrate and have fun. And I get this idea when I'm in the gate to be like, dude, it's not that bumpy. Like looking down, I'm like, it's not that mogully. I was like, if I stick to the outside, I think I could make it. Just like brain's not firing. Sure enough, I hit the first gate and I just kind of go wide and start straight lining. And I'm like, okay, I'm good. Hitting some bumps. I was like, it's not bad. I'm like, okay, it's like a backcountry pillow line, back foot. All of a sudden, my back foot is just gone on one mogul. And instantly, I'm like kind of in the air. I was like, fuck. I like go backwards and then like full like ragdoll all the way down, get back on my feet across the finish line. I was like, okay, I made it. Broke my finger, but I made it.
Left a digit up there.
Yeah, quick. Left something on the course. And then, but that led to basically, they're like, that was, they had the awards like most radical dude. And they're like, that was the most radical thing of the day. Like you won that award. Do you want me to do the full story about?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I buried the lead with the Camaro. How do we get into the Camaro?
Get me to the Camaro.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically at the end of the year or at the end of that weekend, one of the sponsors of the WSSF, which is like the Whistler Ski and Snowboard Festival, was a Chevy. And they were offering up a Camaro. They were re-releasing the Camaro as like a brand new prize. So they had like two of the winners from the ski crew that happened the weekend before. And then they were giving it to two snowboarders. And they chose the radical dudes, which is myself and Dustin Craven, who is an honestly radical dude, that guy. And we went up on stage and we had to like pick out of a deck of cards. Whoever got like the highest one could pick the key first. They were all matching keys and you go in like order. And whoever's key unlocks the car door, you win that Camaro. So we're up on stage and we're going through. I think Dustin went second. It was like a skier went, nothing. Dustin went second, nothing. And then the next skier goes up and I close my eyes and I'm like, man, come on. Sure enough, I start hearing this like cheering and I'm like, fuck. And I look over at like where the car is and the guy and everyone is cheering and like looking at me and pointing at me. And I was like, oh my God, I realized they're cheering because like he couldn't open up the door. So it's got to be me. I'm the last one to go. And I'm like, already, I was like, I can't believe, like, no way, something's going to happen. It's not going to work. There's going to be a mess up, whatever. Sure. And if I put my key in, it like unlocks. I'm like, oh my God, like just won like a brand new Camaro after like the year we just had. And like, oh, it was insane, dude. It was absolutely insane.
That's an incredible story. It also brings me to where we met.
To be full circle, Dustin Craven and I split it. Because we did make an agreement before. I should have led with that too. It's like, we were both up there like, hey, we have 25% chance of winning this. I was like, do we really want to keep the Camaro? It's like, no, if we go like splitsies on it, maybe we'll get like 10 grand each, 15 grand each, whatever. So we shake on it. We decide to split it. And then sure enough, I win the car. I'm like, damn it, Dustin.
Didn't that happen with a dirt bike?
Yeah, it happened with the dirt bike too. And I was the one that won that one too.
Dustin's been making out like a bandit.
Yeah, he's a great deal guy.
If you could go back,
good deal.
If you could go back
deals.
in time, would you have made the deal?
Yeah, probably. Because I mean, look how it all turned out.
That was more of a game of chance too for the Camaro.
It was a game of chance, and like I don't want to be that guy who's like against one of my friends. Like, no, man, I want it all myself. You know, it's like, and yeah, anyway, I would still do it. The dirt bike, maybe not.
Now going back, I remember when I met you is when you had the Camaro.
Yeah. You got in. We were at COC, I believe.
Yep.
And I remember it was sick because that was right after your Get Real year. So you were like a fucking superstar to me. And you get in the first car, you get in and you play me and my Camaro, blasting.
Young Jeezy.
Young Jeezy. And we're up at the COC, like big open parking lot. And you're like, let's do some Bernies. It's like dry pavement. I'm like, I don't know how to do those, but okay. And I just start flooring it on like dry pavement. Yeah, it was good.
Incredible car to win. What did you win? Tacoma? Tundra? No, I want a fucking Camaro.
A black Camaro.
A black. Yeah, I mean, on the stage it was yellow, like Bumblebee from Transformers.
Yeah.
But it ended up I could choose what I wanted. I chose all the packages and everything, so I got that. And I kept it for 6 months. It was super fun to drive. I've never had like a race car. It was awesome, man. Like,
did you get the tow package on it?
yeah, exactly. I was ready for the winter.
Talk about being in the pocket, though. Think about being in the pocket, because that winter, in color, your confidence is rolling, snowballing. Boom, grenade games. You win a goddamn Camaro. That's a year of being in the pocket.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you drop a couple in the pockets, but then no more pockets for the
no more. Okay. Do I beat the dead horse?
Every
on that?
snowboarder all summer has been saying, dude, we're in the pocket, dude. You go out drinking, like, man, I'm in the pocket. And you're like, come on, dude. It's like, we've been here for 5 hours. You're not still in the pocket, dude. Yeah.
You gone and left the pocket.
Yeah, you're not in the pocket.
Was that the same time that you guys microwave a snowboard?
Get out.
What? Zach Hale.
Speaking of Zach, so Zach was there for the Mogul adventure. I'm just talking about grenade games right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was the best day of your life.
Best day of my life. And he was there for the whole thing.
Why don't you describe what Zach's wearing for the listeners?
I think that's like an OG Monster Energy hat. What is that? Is that a like Oakland Raiders colorway or what?
Deep dish.
Deep dish.
Deep dish.
Zach, I'm very happy to see you.
Yeah, I'm happy to see you too.
Very happy to see you.
Chris, I'll return your pressure washer tomorrow. Still using it.
Oh yeah, Zach's borrowing my pressure washer. What's going on, Zach?
Nothing. Been peeling paint off of concrete for 2 days. Living the dream.
You got any good memories with Mark?
I got a
Your
lot.
timing's kind of perfect because
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
like where we really started spending a lot of time was like grenade games, and then street riding started right after that with like you, Jeremy, myself, Ethan.
Remember when you came? I don't know why this one stood out to me. Remember when you came to Denver for my like 22nd birthday?
Please refresh my memory.
That, for some reason, I was like in Denver with Mark Sollors on my birthday. Like,
Oh, you know what? I do remember this because that's where we started. I first met Billy Wongling too. Yeah, man, that was fun. Wasn't that like right before we were going to like the street days in Tokyo or something like that?
Yeah, that's
times,
that was our Burton days. Mark and I had a lot of Burton days.
Yeah.
He made a
lot
he
of
made
time.
the purge though. He's still been on, you know. For some reason they kept him and dropped me out.
Survived the purge.
Survived the purge.
New topic, whatever. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're still on it.
Tokyo Rail Days. You guys went to a couple of those, no?
Yeah, I broke my wrist twice on those.
You should go
Yeah,
back
I
and
went
do a
to-
rail jam.
Should I?
Did you go 100% broken wrist in Tokyo Rail Days?
No, 66.6%.
Okay.
Yeah, because there was 3 that I did, and 2 of them I broke my wrist.
Damn.
Yeah.
2 for 3. That's
2
not
for
bad.
3.
Those
2
aren't
for
bad
3.
numbers. All right. Hey Zach, you got any more questions, or you just want to hang out in the doggy door?
What was your best time in the Camaro that you won? You do anything?
I
funky
honestly
or
just shared that. I think it might have been when Chris came in and started playing me and my Camaro and making me do burnouts in the COC parking lot.
in Whistler?
You were there. We went to Camp
Yeah,
Champs together.
I was in the car with you.
Zach was in the back seat.
And Chris kept putting on my Camaro, Jeezy's song.
I actually have this could be a great segue for a topic while you guys are all here. Basically, you guys survived you went through a lot of adversity, and particularly in the Burton winch era. You guys made it through a lot of aggressive, high-speed winching in a time where snowboarding was pretty aggressive. How did you make it through that adversity?
Do you want to go first, Zach, or do you want me to go?
I didn't really have a say. So. my adversity was just shut up and
Shut up and shovel. That's pretty much what we did. We did a lot of shoveling in those days. And the winch was terrifying. I hated operating that thing. I don't think we had a proper windshield either, too. So it was like always just like blindly like throttling up and just like closing your eyes until it goes by.
I mean, how did you do? You did a better job at it than I did.
Questionable. I mean, wall rides were cool then, so I did a lot of wall rides in that era.
Bring the splat back.
The splat, dude, that was so funny. Can't believe that was a thing.
Go to the back of the Walmart parking lot, build a lip 20 feet back. You're like, yeah, that wall looks good.
Literally, a wall, a fence, and then we're like, yeah, we'll build a jump against the fence and we'll just run into this wall.
The splat era.
The splat era.
Great time in snowboarding.
Later.
Well, thanks, Zach.
Great to see you,
Thanks
Zach.
for coming by.
Thanks, Zach.
Have fun. Hit me up when you guys are done.
Sounds good.
Later.
Was this the time where there was a snowboard boot in the microwave?
Oh my God, yeah, okay. So during that week, they basically rent out like the entire Adara hotel, which was one of the hotels in Whistler, and that's where like all the teams stay, all the employees stay, like everyone's kind of there together.
This is all allegedly, right?
Yeah, allegedly. Of course.
For legal purposes.
Yeah. So you can just imagine kind of like the space. It's like the end of the season. All these snowboarders come together from all around the world, haven't seen each other that often, so it's just like a wild time to be together. And there would always be like hotel room parties, basically. No change throughout there. And I don't even remember how this necessarily started. Somebody, you might know the story better, but they had microwaves in all these rooms, obviously. And at one point, somebody just decided to throw, I think, Dustin Craven's boot into the microwave. And this slow chant started. It was like, kick that boot, cook that boot. And then before you knew it, there'd be like 15 people together, like over there, like chanting at the microwave that says 13 minutes. I'm like, cook that boot.
Cook that boot. Cook that boot. Cook that boot. Cook that boot. Cook that boot. And I think like Dustin was either naked or shirtless or something. But yeah, it was not naked. I think he was shirtless, but it was freaking.
Nah, he might have been pantsless.
Something.
There's a trend with like you keep your shirt on, but you're pantsless.
Yep. Renzi was there. You were there. Hailstorm was a baby. It was legendary.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah.
Did all the doors connect? You could go in from one room to the other without going in the hallway?
Yeah.
So dangerous.
Yeah. It we knew we had a limit though. It was nice. We were responsible because as soon as the boot came out, somebody tried to put a PlayStation in there, and that's where people stepped up. They're like, "Okay, we can't. No PlayStation.
Can't
put the boot back in. We'll cook it, but no PlayStation."
That's just fucking elite level partying. Microwaving a boot for no reason and just getting fired up about it.
You don't see microwaves in hotel rooms very often anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
You were the ones that stopped it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's insurance, you know. Liability.
You guys ever seen the beer in the microwave trick?
Like Crazy Spark or something?
No, Bridges does it every time. It's his move. If you take a beer, put it in the microwave, hit 5 minutes, take it out, nothing will change. Still be cold. It'll be exactly the same. So when you put it in there, everybody freaks out. It's a good party trick. Try it at your house. It'll be fine. You're not going to blow up your microwave. We can do it tonight at my house.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. It's a party trick. Doesn't make sense. But Bridges is the one I saw do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, keep that in your back pocket, guys, if you're at a house party.
Don't go to much of those anymore.
Yeah. Go to bed at like 9:30 generally. Okay. Let's keep it going. So you have that baking color year. Where'd you go from there?
Oh man, we're going back like 13 years now, hey? So the big in color part, obviously the changes with Burton being very welcomed into now their plans moving forward with their movies and Standing Sideways and all that. And that's actually just where I started spending more time with like Zach Hale, Jeremy Jones, like that was like became our like rail crew. So early season I'd spend time with Zach and Ethan Dice and Jeremy. Alex Andrews came out with us a bunch. And we'd be on that, like, you know, Minnesota, Alaska program, Japan, Europe, like wherever it was good, we would just be chasing that, which was really cool because before that, I always spent time more close to home. You know, like, okay, it'd be snowing in the Okanagan, I'd go there, I'd go to Quebec, you know, but I never had like budget or like the ability to go anywhere else. So starting to spend time with Burton, it was like, where's there snow? Wherever there is snow, we can go there. We have the ability, they have the resources. So it was amazing to see that change, you know. And that was the splat era too. Started getting into wall rides. And then also spending more time with like Renzi and Yeti in the backcountry. Mikkel Bang started coming out there. I got to film with him for In Color. Actually, I want to touch on that real quick because we literally got to watch the backcountry click for Mikkel. Like, it was amazing to see. We were hitting the same jump that I have that front 10 on. He was trying Switchback Rodeo, I think, or maybe it was Switchback 9 or something.
I think Switchback Rodeo.
Yeah, it might have been that.
Told me the story before.
Yeah, and he kept like going over the nose, and we started telling him like, okay, like you have to think of the backcountry as like you land a bit more back-footed, you need to be strong, and you need to be prepared for like 2 landings a lot of the time because there's sometimes the initial one and then the secondary one. And you could see him like just start thinking about it and understanding that it's not just like a groomer landing, there's like give to it. So if you're like moved a little forward or a different flex, it might change the way your speed is coming out of it. And he went up there and it was like, boom, Switchback Rodeo, boom, Switchback 9, like all those tricks on that same jump. I don't think he like fell after that. Like the only times he wouldn't get shots is like it was a matter of like the jump not working or something. It wasn't like his fault. So it was kind of crazy to see, especially like how amazing of a snowboarder he is now in the backcountry. Like you got to watch that like click in his brain. So it was really cool. Yeah, and that's basically how we started with the Burton Crew.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the guys are primarily street guys or primarily backcountry guys, and you were one of the few that was managing both.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? That was actually something that I think kind of held me back a little bit from riding with Mikkel or with Renzi and Yeti a bunch. They would obviously, like when I would come back from the December, January, February time in the streets, they would welcome me back. But at that time, like those two riding together was insane. They were the best snowboarders like out there as far as like freestyle backcountry goes. Like they were at the top of their game. It was insane to watch. So for me to come and join them, I almost felt like, you know, they never said it. They always welcomed me, but like I felt like I was interfering with their like
third wheel,
well-ironed or well-oiled machine. Yeah, exactly. Like I felt like I was third wheeling, even though they were so welcome to it. So I didn't want to interrupt that. So a lot of the time I would have like Jeremy come up and he would spend a couple weeks, or like when Mikkel was still starting, it was like I would spend time with Mikkel, and I'd be in Whistler, so I kind of knew it. I'd spend time in the backcountry, so I was able to like almost like lead that group around. So we spent time together, but I wasn't like full on with those boys a lot of the time because, you know, they were just doing so well on their own.
What I think I noticed a lot in watching your video parts from In Color and Not Bad and stuff like that to more Burton stuff was your spot selection changed a little bit at this time. Was that due to you? Was that due to crew? Was that due to location?
I think it was a combination of it all. I think my personal spot selection didn't really start changing until Renzi and I started doing Powder Hounds later in the year. Later in like the career.
And I'm more referring to the rail side of things.
Oh, the rail side of things. Yeah, I definitely had a shift in that. So with Zach and Jeremy, it was really cool being with them because it almost operated in a sense of like everyone would have their turn, you know, like everyone had like, okay, this is more of like a one person spot. It wasn't like, okay, we're going to this down rail and everyone get as many tricks as possible. You know, it was like, okay, cool. Like this is something that Jeremy eyed up and this is a Jeremy spot, you know, and then I would find something like, okay, cool. Like the whole crew would move over and help me set up mine. And then I would have a chance to get a shot there. So I think it slowly changed into this, like, you have to be the creative one. You have to find yourself your own feature instead of just being like, here's the famous down rail. Let's go and get tricks, you know? So you know, actually, now that I think about it too, it's like that really changed the way I look at the backcountry as well, because I started looking at, you know, like gaps to walls when I was in the streets, and like all of a sudden I would get out into the mountains and be like, oh man, like there's actually a transition over here. Like I could pop off this going this way, and I'd be looking for these different features rather than like, here's a landing, let's go build a wedge on top. Yeah.
Nice. Renzi said the same thing. He's like, I feel like the streets made him look at the mountains differently than everybody when we were back there with him, like popping off stuff. He literally said that yesterday.
Oh, that's awesome. I learned a lot from Renzi.
Speaking of Renzi, we do have a question.
Oh boy.
From Mikey.
I'm not nervous about this one
What's
at all.
up, Mark? What's up, Bombhole? Mikey Renz here. Got a little question for Mark. Hope you guys are having fun. Mark, you're kind of infamous for talking to yourself while you're snowboarding, especially when things aren't going as planned. And I'm just wondering if you remember the most offensive thing you've ever said to yourself or called yourself, or I don't know, maybe just a little play-by-play. Thanks, dudes. Have fun.
Great question.
All-time
Mike.
question, actually.
What a guy. Great question. Oh, we're in the off season, so I forget about this. But yeah, I'm a very, very vocal snowboarder when I'm out there. Also, thanks, Mikey, for the question. I love you. Thank you for everything you've done for me. I honestly really appreciate it. But the vocal snowboarding is a problem? Question mark. So I'm in the air. I'm talking to myself. If I mess up on the lip, I'm talking to myself. Like I'm literally like giving like a play-by-play recap of what's happening live in the field while it's going. Like if all the cameras had audio while they're recording, like you could make a TV show out of all the shit I've said. And it's usually like very self-deprecating towards myself. But here's the thing, that the logic that I look at it, I get into landing, I yell at myself until I get down to the sleds. And then at that point, I've gotten all out of my system and I'm back to being happy and whatever and move on. And then I go back up and do it again. So it's almost like a purge, like get it all out. Plus it's this weird thing where it's like, I'm going to notice every fault that I do before somebody else notices it. So it's almost like I'm admitting to my mistakes as they're happening instead of somebody being like, hey, like you drifted or you did this wrong. It's like, yeah, I know. Did you not hear me yelling to my fucking self? Yeah, it's an entertaining one, I would imagine, for the crew to be around. As far as the most offensive things I've said to myself, I don't know, man. I think that just has always changed depending on the year.
Very colorful. Colorful insults at yourself.
It's very
Scary.
interesting. Yeah. Like I really go into a dark place sometimes.
Yeah. I watched the clip of you popping off some pillow field. I think it was in like last year's Burton edit. And you're like launching pillow to pillow and you let out a profanity off the lip and do a perfect method.
Yeah, I do. But yeah.
But
it wasn't supposed to be a method. That was supposed to be, I think, a backside 180, but I got caught in the lip. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing a method. And, so I'm just yelling.
I saw you do. Yeah, I've seen a couple. We'll stay away from some, but one just doing a front seven tail perfectly and on the lip, no pop. And, What? You went higher than everybody and you landed. So and I'm not seeing it, but
definitely something. And like I'll yell things that I notice that no one else will notice too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no pop. And like, can't even grab your board. Like, how old are you? Come on, man.
Yeah. I have a question about pop. Is it when you're about to hit a jump, are you going, I'm going to fucking blast this front seven tail? Or is it just autopilot muscle memory?
I think it's a little bit of both. As I get more comfortable on a feature, I'll definitely want to pop more to like really accentuate it, to really make a good showing. But also, I think pop is really important. I think that's something that I'm going to start this by saying there's a lot of great snowboarders that have amazing pop. But I also think there's a lot of people out there that scrub a lot, don't have consistent pop, and it causes long-term problems in the way they do tricks. Because if you can control your own pop and you're popping the same for all your tricks and you're getting a good snap that helps you initiate the trick and it's consistent, then that's going to make you way more consistent in every trick that you're doing. If you don't pop and you rely on the jump, you're going to show up, whether it's a backcountry jump or a park jump that, has pop and the trick's going to naturally do itself. And then you're going to show up in another contest or somewhere else and it doesn't have pop and you're not going to be able to do that trick because you're relying on the jump itself to kick you into it. So I think that's why I continually focus on like making sure I'm popping, I'm doing the best job I can so it's consistent, so I'm used to it, and instead of relying on the jump to do it for me.
You got to start lower than everybody because you pop more, or is it pretty standard?
No. That's a favorite, famous Trevor Andrew quote. What's the speed? I got mad pop.
You know who doesn't have pop that's sick though? Scotty Whitlick.
True.
If you watch him hit jumps back in the day, he's like not popping, but for whatever reason,
still looks sick.
He's the exception to the
rule.
He's
like effortless. Like everything he does is like doesn't seem like there's wind up. He just kind of naturally falls into every trick he does.
2-foot pop, 60% on your back foot, front
foot?
That's
a great question.
I use my board more than anything. I think like the more you get used to a snowboard, the more you understand its flex and where the pop point is, because it's similar to like a skateboard, like every angle that you have on a skateboard, your snap, where your tail is snapping on the concrete is going to be different. And the snowboard's going to be exactly the same depending on, how long your support goes, how long the wood goes, what do you have built into the snowboard back there. So it's like, where's your snap going to be? Is it, 3 inches behind your back binding, or is it 5 inches back there? Is it right at the end, right where it is? Because as soon as you find that point, you're always going to rely on that point for the same consistent snap.
So what flex pattern board do you ride that works for your pop?
So it kind of changes because right now I'm on like an S rocker where I have like early rise on my nose. And I actually really like that. We're going to get tech here, okay? So my regular tail will be where I have snap. It's stiffer. It's going to have a lot of snap because I'm left foot forward regular, so it's always going to be like a stronger position. As soon as I go over to being switch, I like early rise and having like S rocker because my nose is going to be bigger, but if I'm riding switch, I'm able to push through that early rise that makes that my new like switch tail feel smaller. So it's going to make it easier to ride while I'm riding switch. It does change the pop a little bit because it's not going to be as aggressive. I feel like there's still going to be like a wide area of where the pop is, but it's also going to have a weaker ending because now if you go further out, that like early rise it's not going to be fighting as much camber. But then again, it's switch. Like your switch pop isn't going to be as strong as your regular pop. So yeah, you drift a little bit, but still making sure that you're getting that like board snap is super important.
And this is all for back. You obviously cater your boards to backcountry riding, right? Like you wouldn't use this in the park to generate snap, but when you have to be cognizant of powder landings, right?
Right, but excuse me. Here's the thing: even in the park and on groomers and stuff, like I do have a board that has early rise, and it's for a similar reason, where it's like, let's say it's very stiff. If I'm riding switch and I'm not as strong when I'm going switch, but if I have some early rise, that is basically weakening that a little bit when I'm on like a switch tail, allowing me to push through those carves easier, or like to snap, it's a little bit easier of a snap. So I actually have S rocker and like kind of early rise on all my boards, whether it's in the park or in the backcountry or whatever.
Damn. Does having that less effective edge help as well? Because with the early rise, it comes off the snow a little bit earlier?
No, because Burton has what we call balance free ride technology. I forget. I'm sorry. But when it's on hard pack, basically, and I don't think it's on all their boards, but on most of them, it will ride, like the camber will ride to the effective edge contact points, and then your early rise will come after that. So on hard pack, you don't really notice it that you have this bigger one until you're getting into snapping. And then in the backcountry, it helps with like float, and the early rise is going to allow me to push through that in the powder when I'm riding switch. So yeah, I kind of keep that on all my boards.
You're a tall dude. What size board are you riding?
60 for resort, 65 for backcountry.
65, big dog.
Yeah.
Damn. Floater, my
And actually, I'm on the Grillmaster right now for a lot of it, and it's a pretty wide board. Like I got size 11, but even for me, that's like a pretty wide board. I think it runs at like 270 millimeters waist width, maybe even 275. Anyways, it's like pretty wide, but man, it is. I love it. Like for that same reason, it's got a big nose, but like with that early rise, I can push through it, and it doesn't feel like it's lagging too much. Like yeah, I like it.
All right, you know what it could be time for, Silk? Do you have any idea?
I feel like it might be time for Name That Video part.
All right, how we feeling?
Nervous. Like I said, I'm not super quick-witted in some of these pressure settings, as you noticed in Jody's questions. So if I was at home, I feel like I'd be in the like 6, 7 era, but I think I have to tone myself down to like a 3 or 4, unfortunately.
Okay.
I want to be more confident towards it, but I mean, that's, you got to know yourself,
You're
right?
honest
You got to
answers.
know yourself,
It's an
yeah.
I
honest
think he's a
answer.
student of the game, Craig.
Facts.
I think he's a student of the game. We gave you 2. First one's a meatball. Second one, well, we'll see how you do.
Oh my God, come on. Devin Walsh.
I'm sorry.
No. I'm all right.
Sorry for my buddy, actually.
Boost, boost up that confidence a little bit.
Let me just play it again real quick. Just
It's
for
a
fun.
great song.
God, that part's
So good. Also, it's the intro for Belly, I want to say.
It's in Belly. I don't know. Yeah.
That one's sick because they're going into the club and they got like the cat eyes. Yeah, I remember that was awesome.
Handgun stashed in the toilet. Let's do this. Okay, part 2 for you. This is for you. We got 3, so this one's yours.
With flows, I want to control the whole land. You just gotta stay on your toes, man.
It's Kurt Wastel 411 VM Snow issue 1, and it's where he's riding a Big Bear.
Congratulations. That was that was a
we
bit
hesitated with the like hieroglyphics, Del Funky Homo Sapien. That whole era was like. I'm honestly thank you for doing that one because that was great. That was like where we talk about those like pivotal years of snowboard videos and like shaping who you are as a person. It's like those were on repeat because you didn't have any other source. So I was watching those videos nonstop.
What year are you born in?
86.
Yeah, 87. We're in the same window.
There you go.
Okay, second part of Name That Video part is for the listeners. If you know the song, comment on the photo of Mark on Instagram. That's where we pick our winner. We need song or we need rider and video, rather. Here we go. Thank you guys for playing Name That Video.
I did realize I forgot to do the movie for Devin. It's True Life.
Yes.
And the prize back too.
Oh, thank you, Craig. Craig's a true professional.
I didn't want to.
Forgot we get stuff.
You got a prize pack. It's
Wow, look at this.
Ashley sent us a North Face bag filled with bomb hole merch. You got smelling salts, you got hats, we got new sweatpants in there actually, which is great for Squamish.
Oh, the Squamish tuxedo?
Yes, Squamish
Personal
tuxedo.
written letter from you guys. I'm keeping this. Thank you.
You got a letter. You got some smelling salts. We got a new crew neck, I think, in there. I don't know. Actually, Danny packed it.
Look at this.
Oh yeah, camo. There's a bunch of. And if you want anything else, we can grab it from the warehouse if needed.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yep.
We can all safely go across the border, right? Nothing I need to worry about?
No. Yeah,
Great.
you're good. You're good to go. And you earn that. Sometimes it's more of a participation award.
Yeah, no participation
Thanks. I
here.
appreciate it. I do. I hope that wasn't too much of a low ball for you, like an easy softball toss.
I felt, originally I was like, the Dev True Life is way too easy. I got to grab another one. So last minute.
Honestly, I think the full softball one would have been if you did Devon Resistance, because that one I literally like broke the VHS.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't work anymore. Like because I rewound that part so much.
What were the pivotal vids?
Videos, Resistance, True Life for sure. I'm gonna say Revival was another huge one for me because that intro with Chad Otterstrom, which Chado is such a legend. That intro with him and having the September song, Earth, Wind, and Fire was incredible. And then After Lame, believe it or not, was like one of those because that was like where we can finally see more personality, you know. And for me, that was a huge thing. I feel like I missed that for so long, not like feeling like I knew these riders, but not knowing anything about their personalities. And then you start seeing like the humor. Like Bobby Meeks was just like my favorite person for so long. Like he's such a funny guy. Yeah.
And it wasn't the hardest tricks in his video part. If you look at like incredible video part, but
like Lame, such great heights. I mean, I'm sorry, but that song and his writing and everything like put together, it was like that. It was huge. Also, I was a little emo kid, so that hit hard too.
Well, let's talk about that because you came up in the era where you could get catapulted by videos. You grew up watching videos, and the landscape has changed, and you've had to adapt. How do you feel like we're at with the landscape of snowboard videos? And I'm just going to tee up on that.
Really hitting the heavy questions now here.
Hard hitting.
Yeah, like you said, I think that like back in the days, like the video part made you a professional snowboarder. You know, like as soon as you were invited to be a part of those movies, you were like a top tier professional snowboarder. I think nowadays it's such a change. Like snowboarding is not what it used to be in any sense. Even from when my career started, it's not the same at all. You have to have so many different hats on. You have to be like fairly well at social media and digital marketing and like understand professionalism and how to work with companies and what they need on their end. But then also like hanging on true to being like the snowboarder that you are and you want to be and like making sure you have like great shots. Because even like, you know, like you can go and do like pow slashes and it's great and it's like it's incredible, like such a great rider. But then I think you still have to have like an element of like a big trick to prove you are a professional. Like you stand out more than somebody else that can do a turn. You know, it's an incredibly hard landscape to be in right now. Like it's not easy for these younger kids to come up.
You talk. Sorry, go ahead. No, you talk about different hats, and I think one thing in our timeline here is really interesting. Is you were on Burton and you were part of the movies, and then it was like 2015, 2016, Manboys wanted to do a movie. You kind of took on a producing role of that, I think that was a big step for you. Obviously, you're incredible at planning, but doing your own movie with your friends was something that you had not done until that point, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, correct. That was a lot. That burnt me out of like the whole, because after that I was so burnt out that Rusty stepped up and started taking over like everything. Well, Rusty and Chris, like everyone was super helpful in their own ways, but it's like I started realizing like maybe I'm not the best at like delegating certain things, so I held on to a lot of the responsibility myself, thinking like this isn't a burden for somebody else. It was like our decision to do this, then it now it needs to lean on me for responsibility. So I definitely burnt out after that, but it was a fun experience. I mean, like it was really cool getting to do that with all my friends. I watched it not too long ago. It was sick. Dude, your part is incredible, Craig.
Oh, thank you.
Really, like watching it now, I'm like, oh my God, like some of those tricks were insane.
Thank you. But I think it's just super interesting being like part of videos and then getting on the other side of that and producing it and bringing people together and getting funding, because it's one thing like you're very lucky to be on Burton where we're doing a video, I'm showing up here with this crew and I'm just going to snowboard. And that was like,
yeah. Well, I mean, even that changed this past year, you know, it's like I'd been on that like Burton media program so long where they're so supportive of their team, where it's like, okay, we have this, like we have filmers hired, we have photographers, like go out and ride and all you need to focus on is being a snowboarder, which is incredible if that's what you can do. It's like, thank you. I can just focus on my sport, you know, it's like that's what's going to make me a better snowboarder. And then this year we had some changes where last minute in December, it was kind of like, okay, cool. Like I was like invited to be out there a little bit with them, but I wasn't full on with them. And so that forced me like super late in the year to be like, okay, I need to hit Monster for some financing. I need to get like a little bit from BOA and Monster and like, okay, I need to like produce my own project here. I need to hire a filmer. I need to like, it was instantly being thrown back into that position. It's like, if I want to have a video part, if I want to have something coming out and not kind of being, you know, like not a B rider, but you know, like if I wanted to have like a focused filmer and film crew, it was like, I need to do this myself again. And so I got put in that position and it was fun, but I mean, maybe that's why I felt like so burnt out, like going from that video and like having to produce everything myself and then going into the bachelor party planning, the golf tournament and all the travels this summer. And then now I'm like, okay, it's almost winter again, you know? It's almost like I feel like I haven't had a chance to kind of like take a break and really think about it moving forward. But the one thing I wanted to know, where we were talking about the different hats, I forget which group chat you guys had. Who was it that you were talking to where they have like marketing for snowboarding is like, it's just a piece of the pie, you know?
Johan was saying.
Yeah, it was incredible listening to that from their perspective and being kind of delivered to the riders, being like, this is the way the companies look at it. Because sometimes we're not aware of that. I'm not aware of it, you know? Like I don't understand that there's so many different avenues of where they need to put money into, like the marketing of sales and advertising here and this and that. So now I try to look at that in a sense of like, I always want to be a professional snowboarder first, like a snowboarder first. I want to make sure I'm still doing tricks and like everything I need to be in that title. But also like, where else can I step in to almost take more of that pie? Like where else can I add value to my brands and my sponsors where, you know, it's like, okay, cool. Like instead of giving it to some random person on YouTube over here, it's like, great, I'm going to start doing some YouTube stuff where I talk about the product I work on. And then they'll see that and be like, okay, cool. He's not just like having these videos come out. He's like, he's doing a product YouTube. And it's like, I'm getting a little bit more of this, like, this kind of like result or this, like this area where like the company needs to spend time. And it's like, hey, I'm going to try to be professional and try to do this myself.
Mm-hmm. How's the YouTube channel journey been?
It's been great. It's been fun. It's a lot of work. I mean, I do all the editing myself. So it's like, dude, it's so much work. I'm like capable of doing it, but I'm not fast, you know, like those videos. I have so much respect for like editors and filmmakers. It's incredible what they do and are able to put things together. Even just like the amount of footage that you sometimes have and be able to go through it and create a video that has like a vibe and energy and can show a rider's personalities when one shot, you know, lives in this little file over here in the middle of the winter and they're looking at, you know, folders that are just like so much content. So I got a lot of respect for that. But yeah, it is good.
Similar to the editing thing, I've looked at all your parts and I always think that you have a really good music selection. Is that from your brother or where does that come from? Your brother's a DJ.
My brother is a DJ.
Viewers, listeners.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. I love Carson so much. I'm gonna touch on Carson a little bit later, I think. But to answer your question quickly, I think I think I've allowed a lot of the editors to help guide what they think is going to be. Like, I obviously have like my opinions of like what I think would flow with my footage or what kind of has a good example of my personality. But at the end of the day, if an editor is excited to work with a song, then you know they're going to be able to compile it into a way better part. So I kind of trust, like, they're the professionals. They know what they're doing. If they see this as something that'll shape up nicely, I'm like, yeah, great. It's like, I like that song. It's not my favorite, but like, if you can create something out of it that has like the ability to exude my personality, that shows my writing in a positive sense, and it's like, then I'm down to explore this for sure. So, but music's hard. I mean, as I do more of this producing, it's like, licensing is tough, man. Like with this project that I've been working on, it's like, it's crazy to me that some artists that I hit up like just don't even want to license it. I'm like, no, I have money in this, and they're like, nah, I don't really want to license out my music. And I'm like, man, like we're coming like full circle now, where it's like they don't want to lose control, almost like creative control. They don't want their music attached to something. So licensing's hard.
How's the footage stack for this latest project?
I'm happy with it. It was short. Yeah,
I heard there's some heat.
Yeah, I mean, for like recent parts and like footage I was able to get, like I'm really proud of it, to be honest. It's like, yeah, this past winter I was like, maybe that's why, like, from being like so burnt out, I feel like I'm more like sentimental and emotional, but like I'm proud of it. And that's interesting for me to say that. Like, obviously I can do better, and other people, amazing other writers and stuff, but like for the winter we had, what I was given as an opportunity and like what I was able to capture, I'm proud. Love the best that you can do.
Well, we talked about the Manboys earlier. We have a guest question from Rusty. Here we go.
Rusty.
Hello, Bombhole. Hey, Mark, it's Rusty calling. Okay, I got a good one. So, Mark is a very, very nice guy. All of his friends would attest to that. He's a total sweetheart. He's always buying us stuff. He's always got our backs. He's an absolute gem. He's also incredibly modest. He's got a great vault. You can tell this guy a secret and he's not going to go tell anyone. Great vault. Yeah, nobody knows the combination to Mark's vault. Let's see. Mark also, he doesn't talk shit. Now, that's a really good quality. I mean, especially, backcountry jump building, the banter's running, and, there's shit talk for sure. I never hear Mark talk shit about anyone. So I was hoping it might be fun. Mark, why don't you start with me? Let's say something about me that's negative, and then maybe you can hit Raz with something negative and hit Jody with something negative. We love you. Don't worry. We can handle it, and it might be fun for you. So much love, buddy boy. Have fun with the episode, and I'll see you when you're back. Mwah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I love Rusty, and I don't put it past him on that. That's definitely a question Rusty would ask. I have to, don't I? As much as I don't have to, I feel like I'd be doing like my friendship with Rusty a disservice if I didn't.
You got to cut him down.
Okay.
Let him have it.
Rusty is, oh boy. Rusty is a bully in a positive sense.
Probably the nicest diss of all time, but yeah, we'll take it.
This is a very Canadian diss.
He's just so honest. Like, he will call you out on your bullshit. If you don't want to do something, he will make fun of you for it. Like, he loves all his friends, and he's so supportive because he knows what everyone's capable of. So if you're like, oh, I don't feel like my shoulder's bumming, he's like, your shoulder's not fucking hurt. You just don't want to because you're lazy right now. And you're like, damn, that was honest and true.
Still not really a dick.
I feel like he's kind of dodging.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, he's stubborn, but he's the filmmaker. He can do whatever he wants.
True.
Yeah.
My bad.
He's stubborn. Hey, I'll say he's stubborn. That's kind of that works.
Stubborn, yeah.
We'll take that.
Yeah.
Stubborn, kind of a dick. All right, who else we got?
He doesn't hang out with his friends as much as he should.
There we go. Now we're getting somewhere.
Okay.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah,
Spicy.
Yeah, you got to scratch and claw a little bit. He'll get there.
Yeah. It's a thick skin. You got to get under there before the blood comes out. Okay. Jody.
Here we go.
Yeah. I'm going to go to Jody and say, I don't think I would be friends with Jody if he wasn't Jody, Like, if anybody else did the things that Jody did, I don't think I could be friends with them. It's just like, I feel like you're always helping him. You're always supporting him. Can't really do too many things on his own.
Okay, get hotter. Get hotter.
Okay,
Heating up.
now we're
But-
getting somewhere.
But God, do we love Jody? I mean, he's like like I said, he's like my best friend. He lives right up the street. Like I will do anything for that kid. It's insane.
What
Chris is a tough one because Chris cares so much about his friends, and he will do anything for his friends. We just did. Like we were doing like a speech for his wedding and stuff, and that was like one of the things we talked about. He's like, he's the most loyal friend. Anything a friend needs, he's there to do it, and it's like very endearing. He'll like call you out of the blue and just be like, "Hey, I just recognized something was different about you. Are you okay? You want to talk about something?" Like no one else would notice that, especially for me because I keep a lot of things inside. But negatively,
Bring him up, then bring him down.
yeah, negatively, nobody fucking cares about foiling. Love you, Chris. Matt.
He wasn't even in there, but I love where you're going.
Well, if I'm going with all the,
Keep going. We
And
don't
here's
need
what I have to say about Matt Belzer.
I thought we were doing just
I know. Keep going, keep
covering
going.
also. Matt, I mean, I don't know. Everything works out for Matt. He's so good at everything he does. He's so intelligent. He's so smart with like his finances, and almost to a point where it's like I feel like I missed out on some quality young Matt time because he was focused so much on his future. And like it's paying off now, short-term pain, long-term gain, but I feel like I missed out on some fun with Matt. It's not really a negative thing to say, but that's something I feel like I missed out on.
That works.
We'll take it.
It's like the kindest.
know, man, I'm not good
the
at-
kindest disses.
Yeah.
It's so Canadian. It's insane.
You should do a media workshop of how to answer negative questions with extremely positive answers. That's fantastic, Mark.
You kind of Louis Vito those. Full media training.
I don't want to be a cop out.
I know you
I'm
tried.
so uncomfortable right now. Like my back is sweating against this chair.
Okay, I'm gonna change gears. I've
Love
seen
you
you
guys.
snowboarding with a bunch of celebs. We're talking. I've seen Aoki's on there.
My dog Aoki,
Logan Paul, maybe Logan Paul.
Logan Paul, Seal, Steve
Seal,
Aoki.
yeah,
We had some fun times.
Yeah, Seal was a crazy
Yeah.
one.
He's so nice. When I met him, he was just like, "Hey, give me a hug," and I was kind of like, "I don't know you." Seal's great. He's a product nerd, so we talk about snowboard technical stuff nonstop.
What's
he's a
Seal's ride?
Yeah, what's he?
big board, aggressive carving. I gave him like the biggest territory manager we have when it first came out, just because that was like a really fun boarding, like carving board. Even though it was like wide and more freestyle, but he loved it. Really sinks the edges in, and that's what he likes to do.
Digging trenches.
Yeah, I mean, he used to snowboard in like hard boots, so he's like racer style.
No way.
Yeah.
Seal?
He's a big boarder.
Kissed
He loves
by the
it.
Rose.
Yep.
Kissed by the Rose.
Wow.
Did you try and license that song?
Maybe that still solves some music licensing problems. If my music gets weird, it's because I just hunted
It's
or
a
whatever.
20-minute
license I
video
could get.
just repeating Kissed by a Rose.
Well, then we followed up with a little Aoki.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you
little
go. Change
techno.
the vibe.
Yep, for the ender section.
Aoki's dope. He's again like a little kid. We were riding this year in Japan, and we were riding like Japan powder, and he's like, "Yo, are there any jumps around?" Like he literally wants to do like tricks. Like I was teaching him like front threes and backflips and stuff like that, and he's just like he wants to like do tricks, not just like go and ride powder. So it's awesome. He's like a boarder. Like he grew up loving snowboarding and skateboarding and everything. And then that Logan Paul thing was just fucking random. He was literally like in the lineup in Whistler having his like WWE belt on or something like that. And Jody, of all people, fucking had his GoPro because he was filming some airtime thing and literally like stuck it in his face. He didn't know who he was. We didn't really know who he was. Stuck in his face and he's like, "Yo, man, what's up with that watch over your shoulder?" And it was like the award, like the Cumberbatch or whatever they're called. What are those like? Anyways, like the belts.
Yeah, the belt.
And it just so happened like they were two and we were two, like getting on the chairlift, and he was running like full Burton gear on the Grillmaster. So I started talking to him about the board and everything and how we work with Burton. Instantly he became like such a fan of just like snowboarding and everything. And it turned into him having to do like some kind of like social media post for like WWE. So he was like, "Hey man," I was like, "Yeah, I can jump over you with that thing if you want." That was it.
So you jumped over Mr. Paul with his WWE championship belt.
Yep.
Wow. That could be a Guinness World Record.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, question on Jeopardy. Who jumped over Logan Paul as WWE US champion?
Who is Mark Sollors?
Who is Mark
That's
Sollors?
good run through wall trivia, Silk. Take note of that for the future.
Noted.
Take note of that. That'll be good.
Yeah. I didn't really know anything about the guy beforehand, but he was nice when we were hanging with him. But apparently he's pretty controversial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I would love to talk about this golf tournament that you just did that seemed like it had a profound impact for the Chill Foundation. Walk us through it.
Yeah. So I've been working with Chill Foundation for a long time. Like I'm pretty sure most of the people listening would kind of know about Chill Foundation. So if you don't, it's a foundation started by Jake and Donna that helps work with underprivileged youth throughout, like a lot of larger cities and helps get them out of those cities into the mountains and helps them overcome challenges, life challenges by through board sports. So, they have certain keywords through their program like patience, responsibility, community, and those are some of the words they talk about as they're learning to snowboard. It's like patience, like you're on day 3 struggling. It's like, okay, this is one of those things where it's going to get better and you keep working towards it. And courage, it's like getting out of your comfort zone to go and try something new, even if you don't know anything about it. So it's a great foundation. I've been able to go out and spend time with them in Vermont and in Denver, and then we have multiple programs out of Vancouver. And so every year there's the annual Chill tournament where they have, the banks and warehouses and manufacturers for Burton. They all go to Vermont and they raise so much money. It's this crazy amount of money. And it's so great to see all those companies that work with Burton come together and raise this money. But the events manager, Ryan Dodlin, was like, I want to come and do one out west with you. You've already been working with us volunteering and coming out to these programs. What do you think? I was like, absolutely 100%. It was right after COVID. I felt like people were looking for community events to come back and bring this kind of reunion of like-minded snowboarders and community together. So we did it in Whistler. Year 1 was great. We had almost sold out. We had 100 people there. We raised $34,000 or something like that, $35,000. For me, I was ecstatic, raising that much money, having the community come together and all this awareness that came from it. And then year 2, we moved it over to the Fairmont, which is a beautiful course in Whistler. Their staff was so accommodating. They were really wanted us to succeed in this. And we grew to the max is 144 golfers on the course at the same time. All the sponsors came in. Monster Energy is a huge supporter of it. Burton, obviously, so many local people came together to make this happen. And that was year 2 when we raised $63,000. And then this year we sold out in technically 45 minutes from when the social announcement went up. The website went up early, so it was 3 hours and 45 minutes or something like that. We sold out. We have 10 teams, 10 wait list, people trying to get in. Every company supported more money. We had BOA come in as a huge supporter. Their CEO came out. He works with so many nonprofits, and he loved the community that we brought together and the whole energy. He committed additional money on top personally from himself. We raised $96,000 this year. It was incredible, and it's all for Chill Foundation Canada, helping those Vancouver programs. They also run it to Toronto. Is just incredible, And one of the things I want to add to it too is I get to go and work with those youth in the wintertime and volunteer with them. So I get to firsthand see where that money goes and the actual reaction some of these youth have. If I can share a quick story, if that's all right, it's one of the times we were going there, I think it was day 2 of this youth. He was on the magic carpet on Blackcomb where, we have proper instructors teaching them how to snowboard. It's not just us teaching them, but we're there to work with them and help them through it. And this one kid was looking up at the mountain. It's a steep run that comes down. He's like, holy, look at that run. Is that a black diamond? Can you go down that? And I was like, oh, yeah, I can go down that. I'll get you down that, by the end of this. And he was like, no way, no way. And sure enough, 3 days later, right closer to the end of the program, he was on the magic carpet ride before. And we go up the gondola and we're riding down in these linking turns. And I have this photo of him on the slope, linking this toe turn with the magic carpet in the back in the background. And he kind of comes down. He's like, man, that was the run, wasn't it? I was like, yeah. He's like, he didn't even realize how he went from something that looked at it as so unattainable to he's just snowboarding down it. And you could see this mind open up and spending time in the mountains. We took them out split boarding and showed them just how big these mountains in Whistler, as far as you can see, it's all you see is mountains. When he's used to seeing city blocks, all you see is house, strip mall, whatever, And it just like opened up their eyes to the possibility of, you know, what else is out there that they didn't even know was there. And it was just incredible watching that happen. Like we talk about like things learning and people learning. It's like, that is just like, you can see like the wires and habits change in their mind. It's just incredible.
Wow.
Sorry, I went on a little ramble there.
I was captivated.
It's honestly like, it's so cool to see, and it takes so much courage for these youth to come out and do that stuff. And some don't get hooked on it, and then some do, you know. And we have this new thing. I think it's called the JBC Evolution Program, if I remember correctly. But they use like all the networks that we have within like Burton and the snowboard industry, that as soon as these youth graduate and they become like chill alumni, they have the opportunity, if they want to spend time in the mountains, they'll use like the partners and networks that we have to, you know, be interviewed and become a lifty, or to work at these resorts where there's like staff housing and take care of them a little bit, you know? So it's not just like open their eyes and then they don't get to see it again, you know? It's like, if they're motivated by it, if they're moved by it, if they want to explore this space more, it's like Chill Now has the opportunity to help them forward and get them out of those situations and into a more, you know, like equitable or like outdoor mountain kind of area. It's great.
I love it.
Means a lot when you see them too.
Yeah.
Like when you firsthand get to see the youth.
That probably feels better than filming a crazy video part, that whole experience, I'd imagine, right?
It's been great, man. Like the past couple of years have been really cool. Actually, if we want to talk about Karsten for a second, like the proudest I've ever been in my entire life was, I mean, this summer's tournament was amazing, but the year before when this tournament kind of exploded into what it is now and it really grew, Monster came on and supported throwing an after party, and they knew my brother's a DJ and he's got this meteoric rise right now. It's just incredible to watch him play. And so they hired him to play that like after party kind of, you know, event. And it was the first time where my career and my whole life that has been leading through like snowboarding and now with the Chill Foundation and everything I've done in my life has now crossed paths with his career. And we've, you know, worked together on something that honestly I was like bawling. Like it was like 48 hours of the most proud I've ever been in my entire life, of like creating this event that helps so many people, and then getting to go and watch my brother absolutely like crush it in front of this like sold out bar, like nightclub in Whistler. And like the Monster guy that booked him was like, I was like, how's he doing? Like, you excited? It was the first time. He's like, this is the best music that Garces has ever heard. And Garces is like the bar in Whistler. And it was one of those like they were all blown away by like his work. And it was just like, I was so proud. I was so proud, man. And he's continuing to do so well. So it's really cool to see.
You talked about imposter syndrome and being insecure, and snowboarding has pushed you to do things that you never thought you could. Those life lessons, were you able to transfer some to some of the youth when volunteering?
I mean, I think so. I'm fairly careful with the advice and the words that I use around youth, because I don't want to what's the word? Kind of like overshare or over kind of like acknowledge what they're going through. So it's more that I'm just here to like listen and answer questions, more so than trying to kind of like push an opinion or push something onto them. You know, like I'll use it as examples where it's like if they're struggling to do something, it's like, yeah, you know, it's like, it's just hard, but look where you were last week, you know, like you've come past this. And it's like, that's what these lessons are, you know, like everything in life is like, you're bad at something now and then you get better and better. And that's how you progress in anything. It's not like you're just born good at shit. So I don't want to push that necessarily. I want to just like listen and help. But I think with like the way that program is organized, I think they learn a lot just in itself of the structure of it.
Nice.
I kind of want to get into a deeper subject here because you're so goddamn intelligent that I know you got some good takes. So I kind of want to just pick
very kind of you, sir.
Pick your brain on something though. You think about snowboarding, and you think about the amount of people that go snowboarding, the amount of people that own snowboards, keep them in their garage, go twice a year. That's like pretty much the majority of snowboarding. It's like a hobby that people do occasionally, and then they put it away and they don't think about it. And that's a massive population of people that ride snowboards. And there's the people that get True Life and the Resistance, and it becomes a lifestyle and they get consumed by it. And I feel like our kind of journey, if you know, talk about growing snowboarding in some ways, is more, what we're really talking about is like how do we just like make the community and the people that identify as more of a lifestyle, how do we bring more of them in? Not just somebody that like keeps a snowboard in their garage. I would be curious if you have any takes on this.
I mean, yeah. So, okay, if I'm going to go back and just quickly share how I got into this and how I got hooked on the culture and community. And that came through the snowboard shop at Island Snow, where they allowed me to come in even though I wasn't buying shit, and I could watch all the videos. They could continue to talk about like what brands are doing and teams and the new tricks and stuff that's happening, whether it's skateboarding or snowboarding. And I think for me, that's what helped curate my knowledge of what I liked, what was cool, how the community worked together, and how kind of it all intertwined from like tricks to community to culture. Now I feel like it's almost like the more events we see, like you guys do a great job with the Bomb Hole Cup. It's like these events, I feel like, is that new space where you bring these people together. There are events that are somewhat attainable, where people can come and be excited and watch progress and entertainment that's not just a strict, what's the biggest and best trick you can do. These are people that are watching tricks that, even if they're just learning to snowboard, if they can just do a board slide on a box or whatever, but they're watching somebody do a board slide off a cannon to backflip over your limo. It's like, they're like, oh, I can do a board slide. So now I kind of like understand this. I feel like those events are now that new culture and community binding that kind of binds us together. I think that's my short-ish answer of how we can continue to grow our culture, make sure we don't lose control of what, I don't want to say lose control because I feel like it can go in any direction, but like that's us holding on to what we value as important rather than somebody else telling us what's important. So I think like, again, like the same thing with this golf tournament that I have, like I could change it and raise all our sponsorship fees and hit up all the banks in Canada and these warehouses and all these like accounting firms to raise more money as much as possible. But then I'm going to get a bunch more suits in there. Whereas I'm holding on to making sure that the people that work trades in Whistler can come and golf with us that don't usually get to golf. Like the buy-in is the same as like a tee time at that resort or at that golf course. But now they're getting all of the snowboarders and all the friends. They're getting free drinks and food and prizes. Like our raffle table is insane. So it's like that's a way that we can continue to hold the reunion and everything that we value within our community without allowing anybody else in. Not anyone else in. I should watch the way I say that. But like, I don't want to lose what we have value and be told by somebody else what's cool and what's good about snowboarding.
Community is very important to you. Making 100%. Sure that everybody has a spot at the table.
I mean, I don't think that's like a hidden message here where it's like my favorite part about my life are my friends, like I feel incredibly fortunate to have the people around me that I do and the people that have helped me continue to live the life I have. And I see myself as like incredibly, incredibly fortunate for the life I get to live. But it wouldn't be the same life if I didn't have the people around me and the people that I get to communicate with. So I think that's like the same thing that you can share within our community and do it at a large scale to allow people to come in and see it, and then they can make their own path forward.
God, he's dropping facts.
It's just knowledge.
Hey, we got.
I was careful about some of the words there. Like control is not a nice word, but I mean, we don't want to lose that to other people.
Yeah, curating.
Curating. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're going to get into some Patreon questions. This Patreon question is brought to you by Nidaker Snowboards and Craig McMorris. Let's tee it up, Craig.
Hey there, folks. Co-host Craig here, interrupting the episode for just a moment to talk about Nidaker snowboard boots. This is the boot I ride, the Kita boot. I love it because it's got the external heel lock. Okay, it comes in a bunch of different colorways, which I really, really enjoy. And it lasts. It lasts me all season long. It can last 2-3 seasons. This is a fantastic snowboard boot. I highly recommend it. Now, Nidaker has been giving away snowboard boots for their favorite Patreon questions. Today is no different. Our question comes from John Martin from The Circle. How are you doing, John? He wants to know, Mark, from someone who's made it, is the Canadian curse a real thing? And give some advice on how to make it happen, how to do what you do. Let's get you back to the episode.
What is the Canadian curse?
It's that you get trapped in as like a Canadian pro. You don't really leave there. You're always under Canadian budgets. So you ride for these companies, but they all have like Canadian subsidiaries of like, like whatever the brand is has like a Canadian distributor and their budgets are always smaller. So you never move from their distribution under their smaller budgets to actual head office. And then how do you get out of that? Is it real? I think to a certain degree it is. But I also think for the people that it happens to, it's because they're not necessarily like leaving Canada and riding in front of people. Like if I can use Jake Cusick, I know this is a long time ago, but Jake Cusick didn't spend time like trying to become like super well known in Canada and then grow into the States. He started right when he was like, I want to be a professional snowboarder. I'm going to go spend time in Salt Lake. I'm going to go down to Big Bear. He's already riding with the people that are, you know, in the US massive market. And that helped him grow right when he was getting sponsors. He was basically already welcomed into the US department and US industry. So he didn't spend time with that. I think for the people that are like filming video parts and strictly staying in Canada, if you don't leave there, if you're not riding in front of people, a video is like a great example of like somebody seeing, they're like, yeah, that person's talented, but like I've never met them. I've never seen them snowboard in front of their person. It's like, you have to look at it from like a business standpoint where, I hate that I'm going into this path, but you have to look at it from a business standpoint where it's like every person that is like a team manager or a brand manager needs to prove their decisions to somebody higher up, right? They're not the ultimate boss. So if they get a video and they're like, okay, cool, this is great. Somebody above them might like understand that to a certain degree. As soon as somebody else rides with like a brand manager and somebody else in the department, it's like they have their own opinions right there. So it's like that's an easier sell for somebody to give somebody more budget because they have already met maybe their bosses or they've ridden in front of their bosses. That's kind of the way I see this like potential for a Canadian curse, but also ways to get past it.
That's very real.
I could be totally wrong.
No, dude, there's something else about like just like when you meet somebody face to face. Obviously, it's challenging. If you don't have resources, you can't go to the States. That is challenging. But letting like you're saying too, it's like there'll be a million times. I don't want to like the show, for example, right? Somebody will be like, "Yo, you should have this person on the show, this person on the show," and like I've never met him or something. I meet him, I ride him up the chairlift with him, I see him on Hale. I'm like, this fucking person's awesome.
Yeah,
we got to get him on the show. Like, but like, it's if I just seen him on a video and never talked to him. Not to say that like I'm not trying to make it about the show, but there's something about face-to-face interaction when you meet a brand manager and then they see you ride in person. They're going to be more likely to sign you. That's good advice.
I mean, if I can use like Chris Rasman as an example, I mean, he has been fucking Chris Rasman his entire career in Canada. Like he has been an insanely talented backcountry powerhouse for a long time. And he didn't get the recognition he nearly deserved until what feels like just recently. And it's one of those, like, he put through so many years of like trying to grind it out until it finally clicked for him. Whereas like, maybe if he was able to get out of Whistler more, if he had the opportunities to go film like with Travis earlier, you know, like what he finally got to do later on, it's like if those opportunities happen, I feel like he would have been like he would be where he is right now, but fucking 10 years ago. So there is like a lot to that, like stay in Canada, get stuck in Canada situation, which I think is very possible.
Mm-hmm. Well said, Craig. You got anything?
I've brilliantly said.
Okay.
Very correct, Mark.
Jake Cusick, Chris Rasman are phenomenal snowboarders.
Yes.
That's also a huge factor, sometimes forgotten.
Canada has a lot of great snowboarders.
Yeah.
A lot of great snowboarders. Mm-hmm. Like, it's incredible to see. I mean, we're the Great White North, man. We got a lot of snow up there. You got to be good at snowboarding.
Yeah. It's like the Canadian national team. It's like the third line on Team Canada.
Yeah, it's probably one of the greatest.
It's like the first line.
Yeah.
It's like the first line on Team.
And I will say this to the quote unquote Canadian curse, because I don't like that term, because then what you said, the Finnish curse, the Russian curse, the Swedish curse. There's a million amazing snowboarders. It's like your professionalism is I'm meeting people, I'm getting in front of the right audiences, I'm coming away positive from those interactions. You know, those are very important. So yeah. I think it's easy for us to sit here from our point of views and positions to talk about like this is what you should do and this is what you shouldn't do. This is all a caveat here. Everybody has a very different path. So I think I don't think there's only a Canadian curse.
Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about your steel career. Actually, before we move on, I'm curious, golfing, Manboys crew, and the peripheral of the Manboys crew, because I would say Cicerelli, obviously Craig. Who are the sticks? Who's nice with it?
Craig and Psycho. If we're including you guys, I would say you two are like by far the best golfers.
Devin Walsh.
Well, yeah, okay. If we're going to an extension of Whistler, yeah. Well, then we bring in Duffy. Duffy's great at golf too.
How's Sollors stack up, Craig?
Sollors is that friend that you take out once, twice a year, and he shoots better than you after you've been grinding all summer, and you go, "What the? If you just tried, you could be on the tour, man. You could be better than us."
It's expensive, dude.
He doesn't deny it, though. I love it. No. He's so. Mark is just a very talented, athletic, tall. Like, you're just good at sports. So I think, like, if you actually applied yourself to golf, it'd be unfair for the rest of the field.
Okay. Love that.
Well, I think that's my parents were both like tennis players when they were growing up, so it's like my mom exposed us to like every sport possible, you know. And I hated swimming, had to go swimming, but yeah, like golf. Like I was a junior program. Like tennis, obviously, baseball, like all that stuff, track and field, gymnastics. I did it all. So I feel like, you know, like when you're exposed to that when you're young, I feel like there's a little bit of a leg up in like understanding physics and how your body moves and how sports work.
Pole vault.
Never a pole vaulter. Get me jumping though. Long jump, triple jump. Big in that.
Makes sense. We talked about bottle match on your show.
I'm down one right now.
Where are we at in the bottle matches?
I owe him a 2-6.
We've officially only had one this year, so we're pretty behind, honestly. Actually, yeah, only one. Oh, we got to finish this out before winter. Currently I'm up by one bottle, but never count out Craig here.
Craig, you've been putting in the work?
Unfortunately, I haven't got a lot of court time, but I got new shoes and my racket is being restrung. So once we get back to Whistler,
My racket's being restrung right now too.
Yeah,
so.
we'll keep you updated on the bottle count.
I would say like as far as like technique and everything goes, Craig is by far the better tennis player. Like great form. Just get lucky sometimes getting past you.
He's just
I digress.
Natural athlete. All right, let's keep it moving. We talked basically majority about, we haven't talked about the Whistler Backcountry specifically, and this new, you've kind of put this, I've been told you ride around the steel, which we don't need to get into, but are we still hitting the steel?
I didn't say
50-50s.
Okay, you're hitting it.
Yeah.
50-50s.
Oh, we'll take it. Okay,
so I go sideways now, you know.
As long as you're not riding around, that's a win. Now,
I'll like sometimes go around. If there's like a hip or something else to do, I'll go fuck over there. But, you know, like I'm still hitting some kinks, some down rails, that kind of stuff.
It.
Oh, it was a 50-50 though. I hate to say it. I'm sorry.
Okay, who's safety Sollors?
I mean, it's me.
Right answer. Nice.
So I'm like, I'm very like risk aware, I feel like. And I think I've always made sure that it's like I know what the dangers are and we can try to avoid them as much as possible, because I think once you're aware of what can go wrong, that helps you make better decisions. So I think like I sit there longer and think about like the possibilities of stuff happening and make sure that, you know, the people around me understand them, and then we can all move forward together. So I think that Safety Sollors just came into play, just making sure that when we're out there, we're not doing anything stupid. Everyone's aware of the dangers. You know, when people, like when somebody's like eyeing up a line or a cliff or whatever, it's like, okay, cool. Like, but we understand if you hook this way, there's like that tree there or like that little bump and stuff like that. Also, I think just because it like rhymes, it stuck even harder.
And off snow as well. I think you bring
off
that.
Snow,
we do a lot of Sea-Doo adventures. You're always very well prepared that way. So I think safety in all aspects, but appropriately.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, like I am somewhat of an overthinker, and I'm like very aware of the stuff that goes around me. Like I'm fairly analytical about that. So I don't know. It's like you say, like the more you know, the better your decisions are going to be. Mm-hmm. So whether that's recognizing risk and being able to avoid it as best as possible without, you know, avoiding everything. Because, you know, at the same time, it's like that risk maturity course, you know, it's like, it's great to be able to like understand the dangers, understand what the risk is, but then not just walking away from things if it's more just like, okay, there's a possibility this could happen, but the likelihood is that this will be fine. So it's just like managing kind of like what the dangers are, what you can continue to do, and then make the best decision possible.
And you're not just going to the same feature. Like it's not, hey, I've ridden this thing a million times. I know exactly what, like you're exploring.
Yeah.
Oh, we actually have a question about exploring. Hang tight. Let me get to that. That was actually a great segue, wasn't it? He's a goddamn professional. That's all he is. Whether it's the Olympics or the Bombhole podcast.
I mean, he is like
okay.
What is like an American announcer, like a Bob Costas. There you
with
go.
pink
So he's
eye.
like Canadian Bob Costas. No pink eye.
No pink eye.
Hold the eye.
Yeah. Okay. He's like an Al Michaels, actually.
I'll take that one,
Al
yeah.
Michaels is pretty good. Okay, here we go.
Hey, Marco. It's Gabe Langlois here. Super stoked to hear that you're on the bomb hole. And I just wanted to say that over the years, I've been super impressed and blown away with your dedication to finding new zones and finding new features in the Whistler Backcountry. When we first got to work together, it was insane how every feature we would look at, you're like, oh yeah, I hit that. Or Mikey'd be like, oh yeah, we hit that back then. You guys have definitely put in the work and it's awesome. Over the years, we've been going back to a little honey hole that you discovered, I think just from Google Earthing and putting in the time on the trail. And it's been a real provider, that's for sure. It's one of my favorites. It's got the most insane terrain and light and everything. I just want to know, what do you call this spot and how did you come up with the name? And with that, are you open to having guests in your zone? And have you ever had guests? And if so, have you sent them any messages? Stoked to hear the answers. Love you, buddy. Have a great day.
Oh boy. Love Gabe. Great guy. Insanely talented filmmaker. Right when he started talking about exploring, I had a feeling this was going to come up. But so yeah, I'm like a big like map nerd and like Google Earth guy. Like in the fall, I'll like spend a lot of time exploring like possibilities because like you never know what's around the corner. Like, and with the like rise of those new technologies where we can like zoom in and like see all these things and satellites are getting better and better. It's like there's so much to explore out there if you just try a little harder. If you just think a little differently, there's going to be something new around the corner instead of the standard like, let's go to this jump, the wind hit it this way, we know it's probably going to be good. But to get to his question, I've been going to the zone for, I first started going there probably like 10 years ago. And we called it Cram because it's my name backwards. A play on Nomis because the Nomis Days was Simone backwards. So that has trickled into my life a lot as like a humor, but also a kind of like throwback to my younger years. So we call it Cram, and it's in a fairly obvious place, but no one's ever really gone up there. There's some people that go up there now. There's some sledders that go into there, but they don't really explore much else. And I'm fairly protective of it because it's a pretty small zone. And like, here's the thing. It's like Whistler's massive, yes, but the amount of good places and like protected areas, like with more wind we have now, it's like getting smaller and smaller. And if we go up into the zone, you spend like an hour getting in there. If there's multiple people there, you don't have a ton of things to do. It's a fairly small zone. So I keep that fairly protected because we put in so much work and it's like the good days are rare. Like if you get up there and there's another crew there, then it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Go like an hour back down. We just burned half our fuel and now we're going to go up another zone and then maybe find one thing. So I'm fairly protective with this one area in particular, bringing, you know, only the people that I'm spending time with. So our crew kind of has access to it. And the 1 year that he's talking about, Leyland helped me get into there in the very first time, like 2013 or something like that, 2012. And so Leyland brought up Bo Bishop, I want to say, Jody Wozniak, maybe Rusty when they were filming for like the King Snow movie. And the other guys didn't want to go at all. Like they told me afterwards, they're like, we felt so uncomfortable up there because we knew it was your zone. And so Aaron brought them up anyways, and they went this like other way. And I had a feeling they were circling back to this little pocket that we were saving for the afternoon. It was such good snow. So I went to the base of this slope and I just wrote Hours, OURS. So if they came in from the back way to look over, it would just show Hours, like don't fucking touch it. And so it was kind of funny. We talk about that pocket now. And we're like, should we go up there in the afternoon to the hour zone? Like hour zone. So yeah, I can say I'm like fairly selfish with some of that stuff to like the people that I'm filming with specifically. But I mean, it's like we went up there when we first started bringing like some of the Burton Crew up there. Like we brought Blad in there and he like gets to the lake and looks around. He's like, I fucking spent so much money on helicopters getting in here for the Joy movie with like Ben and all of them. And he's like, and the whole time you could just sled here? And I was like, yep.
Insane. So who'd you send the message to?
It was back to those Bo and Jody and all them. What did
it say? Just out of curiosity.
Oh no, that was where it was like hours.
Oh, that was
that was
okay.
message. It was just kind of like,
oh,
touch
it wasn't. I was thinking like it was like a direct message. That was the actual
I wrote it
message.
in snow.
Yep.
Like I went out there in my
it.
feet and made a big sign that said, you know,
so it was
like
huge.
hours.
It was huge. Like,
and later that day, I saw them on the ridge top looking down into it, and they said it was a good laugh. Like, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna touch it.
Love that. So I love that. I'm fascinated with finding new zones too.
Me too. I love it. I feel like that's. I mean, how do I properly explain this? Like, the thing that gets me so excited after all these years doing this, it's like when I see somebody's video part and I don't recognize the feature, I'm like, that is awesome. You know, that is great. I see a good trick and I'm like, nice. I have no idea where that is. It looks like Whistler, but I have no idea. I'm like, that fires me up because I'm like, okay, that person spent time going somewhere different. They didn't just go up the cat track to go to the well-known spot that's been being hit from like Whistler being a mecca since like the 90s. They're spending time finding something different and new and making it their own. And so I have that same kind of drive. I was like, where can I find something different? And it goes back to like that riding in the streets where Mikey was saying, you know, like that kind of opened up my eyes to how like a mountain can shape and like there can be new transitions and new bonks and like new ways to ride slopes. So that is like opening up like a whole new terrain. Like you come across and you're like, oh my God, we can get in here with the sleds, and you go down and there's this mountain like hill that you've never seen, and there's all these like bumps and undulations and trees, and you're like, oh dude, like I think we can do a gap over there. It's like this new blank canvas of like possibilities of being creative. And that fires me up. I mean, you can hear it in my voice right now. I'm like excited for this winter. Like I've got a bunch of zones that I want to go explore. It's just the take from that is, and this is kind of goes back to why I'm a bit selfish with it, is like it is a big risk going somewhere new on one of those blue sky good snow days. So to go up there, spending like building your own trail in, getting through the forest, finding your way to the alpine, getting into those back bowls, you could burn an entire day, which are rare for like good snow, no wind, sunny, and get nothing. And you walk skunked, tail between your legs, and you're getting out of there. So it's a big risk to do that. And when I find something good, when I've sacrificed like 5 good days a season and like just trying to find something new and coming out with no shots where everyone else is going to these jumps that they already know work and getting clips and getting all this. And then finally I find a pocket that's good. And they're like, oh, like we want to come in there. And I'm kind of like, if you're with my crew, we can go in there because we're going to work together on this. But it's like, if you're not, I'm kind of like, I don't want to show you where it is. You know, like I spent so much time and took a lot of risks to get out there. And
yeah,
I understand it's selfish, but at the same time, I'm like, you know, if you know where it is and the next year comes around and you want to go in there, it's like, sure, we had it for like a year by ourselves. I understand that. You know how to get there, you do it yourself. It's fine. But like to a certain point when you're working really hard towards something, just to like kind of give it away is like, and then like, you know, the next sunny day you try to go up there and rebait something that you hit and somebody else is riding it. You're like, I spent so much effort finding something new, and now you just came and found my track, and now you're hitting it. It's like, fuck. So I understand it's not the best trait to have, but it's...
No, not at all. Work's done. Don't give somebody else the paper. You get to hand in the paper, you know? That's the quote.
For now.
Talking to Gabe, he was mentioning he's at his cabin. He's like, we're in the zone. I'm going to go move some logs around and drive the side-by-side and just like get some zones ready for this winter. And sounds like talking to him, you're on that same program where you go up there, maybe with Mikey or whoever, and you might, you know, move some logs around to stack up a pile so you can have a popper. I'm fascinated with you guys going in the summer, so when winter comes around, you guys have zones as well.
Yeah, we've done that a bunch. Actually, the photo that I believe you guys have here, we went up in the summertime. Blatt took that photo, but we went up in the summertime. I like moved rocks. There was like a big dead log that I like cut down and moved. I brought branches in. There was like this gut in between this rock that usually would have like a cavity, you know, and I like filled it with snow so the air, or like the air pocket underneath it when snow got on top would cover it, so it was a smooth landing. Like I put so much work into that, and it's like I'm excited that it worked that winter. But sometimes you go up there and you spend so much time like preparing these areas, and then they just don't work. Mm-hmm. So that happened actually last year. Last fall, we went and we cut a bunch of trees down. Well, not like trees, but like you go into like logging areas and trim out some stuff. And we just didn't have any good snow, so we didn't get to go back to them. So hopefully this year they're still the same.
I love it. And the Google Maps too. The one thing is you find it on your computer, you find it or whatever, your phone or your computer, you have a GPS pin, your trailhead's over here, your pin's over here. Yeah. You're looking at the map and you're like looking up some drainage and you're like, okay, how the fuck do we get there? I think navigating the mountains to try to get to these, there's reasons why people haven't been to those zones because they're bushwhacks, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I have one zone. I think we've talked about this, but yeah, it's like I have one area where Like Danny Davis has come up and he's helped me like start putting the start of the trail in. And then like Cicerelli in the summertime, we've gone up there and cut down like dead stumps that are everywhere just so we have access getting in. And it's been like 3 years of this, and I still haven't been in that zone because we've been waiting for like the snow to work out. So, I mean, knock on wood, hopefully this year it happens. But that's like the work that goes into these things to have something new. It's a chance to be different. I don't know.
For sure. And I feel like you do that. Mikey has been at that. And I think Devin was one of the biggest pioneers of doing that as well,
like
right?
The most famous road gap up in Whistler, and it was all like him. It was amazing. It's like those are the little things. It's like, you know, like we talked about, it's like a little bit of detail, like a little bit of extra effort. And that's like the difference between like, you know, one person's video part and somebody else's video part.
Now, going back to safety, Sollors, I think probably a common situation with people that are new getting in the mountains is they're like, I'm going up. I got some backcountry knowledge. My buddy Gary's got some backcountry knowledge, but Gary, he wants to bring Bill. And Bill's he's a bit of a liability. He doesn't have a beacon. He's a loose cannon. But you know what? We're going to bring Bill just because, you know, Gary brought him. Gary's bringing whatever, you know? And so, like, I noticed that the Manboys crew, you guys seem like you're very, very particular about going into the mountains with everybody that's prepared.
Yeah, I think, and those boys especially, I mean, like you know, like the Manboys have filmed together for so long, but I've also spent a lot of time with Burton. So it's like I haven't always been able to go out on their cruise. But they have dealt with so much shit that like I completely understand why they're particular, why they're strict with certain people, why they're like making sure that it's drilled in, because like they've had heli evacuations, they've had avalanches, they've crossed it all, and they're out of it, with injuries, but like it could have been worse. Mm-hmm. You know, like I've been fortunate. I've never been in a slide where I've been like buried or anything like that. You know, it's like I haven't even had to deal with digging anyone out. So it's like these are things where it's like problems happen, and it's like up to the people that you're with that can sometimes result differently. And if you're going out with one person that's super sketch and you get in trouble, it's like that's the person that's coming to get you. It's like if that person gets in trouble, you're going to get them, but like you need to trust the person that you're with. So it's like you need to make sure that it's like you are only as safe as like your safest person, you know? Because it's like it's up to them to get you if there's a problem.
Love it. All right, let's talk backcountry. Most notable trick, favorite trick from your career of demolition, powder jumps, big mountain freestyle, all the above.
Oh man, that's hard. I don't think I have an answer for backcountry, unfortunately. Like
Well, let's take a look at the last 5 years, because we talked a lot about In Color and tons of hammers and that. Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit about the Manboys movie, but like last 5 years, you've hit some really big stuff. Has anything stood out to you a little bit?
I mean, I really like some of the footage I have this year. Like, and it's not out yet. It will be out soon. I think started in November. We're going to have it online, and there's some premieres we're doing first. But I think this year I have some stuff that I'm like really fired up on. So should I talk about it? I guess.
Yes. Yeah, there's literally, that's what we're talking.
I've got and it's hard to compare to like a younger Mark, I guess, but like for the situation I'm in and the way I feel, like there's this one jump that I did front 7 tail and a backside 180 on, and I'm like, the jump is unique. Like I found it and built it all on my own. I'm like pretty proud of it. Again, like it's one of those like, I don't know, it's got like some board in, and like the boys were all there. Like it was a really fun time, and like getting to film with Rusty again. Like I spent time with Rusty filming, and it's so cool. Like I've known him for like 15 years. So when I film with him and I watch him develop into the filmmaker he is and how he sees things and how he's capturing things now, when he's excited, it gets me excited because it's like we're working together on something. So yeah, I don't know. There's a front 7 tail and a back 180 that I really like from this year.
Unnamed project thus far, right?
Unnamed,
yeah. I actually should probably really get that dialed pretty soon here, but I'm bad with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Names are pretty fun. Anyway, what about this? Another question I have. Most scared you've ever been strapped in? Take your time.
There's obviously like when I did the natural selection stuff, I was scared, similar in the sense of like nervous when I was coming in here because it's like a high pressure position. Scared in the sense of like, was I going to get hurt? No. but nervous, like, was I going to embarrass myself and, you know, ride poorly or something like that? I think that could fall into that category because that was a pretty mentally taxing thing on me. But I think as far as like fear, there's only one jump that comes to mind. I can't name it because it's named inappropriately, but Renzi and UC probably know the ones. It was this step down into this really sharp land. It was like basically like a wind kind of cornice where it was like this spike of a knuckle, and then it's a really short transition. And we had been skunked for multiple days, not getting clips. The sun was out. This was going to work. It was going to be a nice looking shot. No one wanted to do it. We were all terrified because the risk versus reward was so low. Like, it was such a high risk thing. And I remember, like, we were talking to UC, and he's like, this is one of those days where it feels like a job. And you're like, we got to hit this. And you're like, fuck. And then it worked out. No one got hurt. But yeah, that was, I guess, probably a fear.
Who went first?
Can't remember. Can't remember. Anytime I go first, I'm scared. I'm like a very like nervous snowboarder. Like, we talked about like some insecurities and that kind of stuff, but like I feel like I've had like fear almost like built into me at a very young age, and I've been constantly trying to get over it. Like, everything I do, there's some level of fear that I need to like talk myself past it. And thankfully it hasn't like limited me too much. I mean, there's definitely certain areas in my life that I like regret because it was like a lack of action because I was scared, you know, that could have potentially changed my life in a certain direction. But I think fear is one of those things for me that's always there, but you can't let it define or ruin your life. Like, you have to push through it. I'm scared to fly. Like, I get on a plane, I'm fucking terrified, but it's like, I'm not going to not get on a plane so I can go and snowboard somewhere. I can come here and hang out with you guys and do this. So it's like, you just kind of got to be like, I'm uncomfortable, but like, it's not logical that I'm uncomfortable. So I just need to push through this.
How do you specifically, you're scared, big jump. You're like, fuck, I got to get in the car with that cougar. Like, I'm hitting the fucking jump. I don't want to. This is a common issue for all snowboarders that are pushing the upper echelon of their ability level and breaking through a threshold. What's your technique? Do you have anything that helps you get through it?
You're going to open a beer to answer
that. There it is. There it is.
It's not, the beer doesn't help, but, you know, just to answer this. I think I've done a really good job of recognizing when fear is illogical. Like I said, I'm like pretty analytical, so I've done better at like realizing when, yes, I'm scared, but I don't really have a reason to be. You know, like, I'll spend time and run through the risk. I'll run through the danger, and everything I try to do on a snowboard is like a risk versus reward. I try to make sure that a jump, when I look at the camera angle, looks gnarlier than the jump actually is, or else to me it's just not worth it. Like, if I'm going to go hit a feature and the camera angle doesn't look that great, it's whatever, it doesn't look that big, but it's like, for me as a rider, it's super dangerous. There's too many inconsistencies. There's a possibility of getting hurt. That's when I'm like, okay, this fear is logical. This does not make sense. So I'm not going to do it.
I don't think that gets talked about enough. I have seen so many times in my own career too, where you land a trick and it was you were so scared, and you watch the shot and you go, oh, all right, well, that might not make it in the video, you know? You're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Sweet. I almost died, and we just got a throwaway clip. Yeah. I think that's a great teaching moment for people that are trying to film snowboarding, is like, if there is a dangerous part of it, make sure that's either represented in the clip or figure out a way to get rid of that dangerous part so you don't get smoked. Yeah.
Yeah. And to add that too, I think for a lot of pros that have made a career filming, I don't think it's talked enough about how, like, a filmmaker is just as important as the rider themselves. You know, it's like the way they capture the tricks that the snowboarder's doing, the way they put it together, it's like that can literally make or break a snowboarder. So to have a good filmer going out there, it's like, that's the most important part. Like, when we're talking about new projects for the wintertime, they're like, what do you want to do? Like, what's the idea behind your project? And it's like, first, let's lock down a filmer. This is the person I want to work with. Let's make sure we have money for them. They're confirmed and committed. And then let's go and look at the project. That to me is the most important thing, especially as I get older and you know, the risk is there. I want to make sure my snowboarding is captured the way that it best showcases that to the audiences that are watching.
I love the concept too, thinking about that when you break down a video part, especially like a lot of the old Devon parts are like, they're like 14 tricks, you know, or whatever. Yeah. And it's full 2 minutes. And if you really take a step back from a video and you look and you're like, okay, I need 14 tricks. And like one banger, one A grade is worth fucking 10 fillers, you know? But a lot of times, I think a lot of times when you're sharpening your teeth and learning, you're going to spend a lot of time like trying to slam a square peg into a round hole to get a filler.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's definitely like quality over quantity when it comes to filming. You know, it's up to the rider, especially in the days of social media where people are like, more content is better. You know, let's just get anything. And you're like, well, okay, like I understand that because maybe that person's career is built more on social media than it is on like a core headlining video part or something. So I think it's like we were talking about like the ways that snowboarders have to navigate their future. It's changing constantly. So it's the future you want to have.
Could I talk about something that I think I don't think we get to talk enough about, especially when you're kind of ATV, you film rails and POW for a long time, and then there's a year where you're like, okay, I'm going to go POW now. Was that and move more away from filming rails? Was that like a you decision? Was that like I'm kind of over rails, I'm uninspired, I don't want to do that anymore? I think that's just kind of an interesting like you make that decision, right?
Yeah.
Like there's not a brand telling you like, hey, we want a rail part from you.
Yeah, I can share that for sure because it's actually a pretty clear decision that I made. It was I think 2016. The snow conditions weren't that great in Whistler, so I was like, yeah, I'll go on a rail trip. I wasn't like focusing on making sure that I had rails and backcountry, but I was like, I still want to go and do some rail trips. And we went to Glen Rosa that we talked about with Eddie doing the backside 270 and cap 270. One of the other amphitheaters that are there, it's like a walkway. There's the amphitheater and there's like an above garden and railing. And so I was doing this gap over the walkway onto the amphitheater rail, and then it's like a ground driver. You know, that's a really low rail, and that goes right onto concrete. So I did some lip slides onto it. Because it's a low rail, I couldn't put too much snow in the landing, so it was a very thin amount of snow before the concrete. So I did some lip slides on it. I was like feeling good, and I was like, okay, cool. Like I want to do gap 270 on this. I'm going to frontside 270 it. So I started doing it, and I kept like contacting, like landing in the 270, but then I'd be on the stair side. So and there was a drop on one side. So like the safe side was the stair side. So I do the 270 and I would kind of overspin and then go into the stairs. And I almost like kind of got comfortable with that like overspinning on impact. And so the one time that I fully locked in and got it like right in between, I like impacted and my board naturally, because I was used to that overspinning, turned into finishing the 360. And I was just a little bit on the inside, so I hooked my edge. And it's like a pretty big gap going right onto concrete, basically, maybe like 2 or 3 inches of snow. Fully snapped my collarbone, like bad. Like I still have a plate in here. It's like a plate, 7 screws, I think. Like it was like shards everywhere. And so that season, because of that recovery, I missed out on all powder. And like that was the first year where I was like, I can't ride any powder. I can't ride any backcountry jumps. And I started to weigh that decision. I was like, okay, well, I'm getting older. The bales on the street are gnarly. I will admit that. Like you guys in the streets, it's insane some of the slams they take. So I was like, I think I am valuing myself and where I want to spend more time snowboarding is going to be in the backcountry. So I started to kind of make that transition, being like, okay, like unfortunately it's over. But I think there was also like an underlying thing, not just like the injury that made that decision, is like I was falling into being this like very stunty street rider where I wasn't being very technical. I was doing like big 50-50s and big slides and like big 270s. Like everything was just kind of like big instead of like a technical cool thing. So like that also rose the risk of more injuries. And I wasn't, and like that was in an era where like I think a lot of people were in the tech space. So like a lot of the good rail riders were all like tech riders. And so I think I kind of just like saw where I was sitting within the industry, and I was like, I think I can do better if I just focus more on the backcountry. It's where I wanted to go anyway. So I was like, okay, this is, unfortunately, it's one of those, hang it up. Sad though, you think about it. You don't know it's your last rail until it's over.
Left it all on the field though.
Yeah.
You left it all on the field with that front
I'm
tube.
still waiting for somebody to go and do that 270. It's a sick spot, man.
I got it.
Like,
I want it so bad.
Oh man,
I can't wait.
I'll come there.
Or
I'll
you know
shovel.
both actually.
Oh really? Straight over the top?
There's a tree that's kind of in the way, so you pretty much have to decide which way you're coming at it.
But you can build the in-run like
you build it up to the railing. So you basically, it's like a flat takeoff. So you're just kind of going over the like sidewalk, walkway. It's not like a gap from behind.
What'd Simone do on that amphitheater rail?
He did.
Pretzel?
He did the
switch ups,
switch lip to front board. He did 270. He did a couple 270 outs.
He did front board pretzel. Sorry,
I think he did front board pretzel.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I'll give you a nice throwback. So my friend Shane, who I grew up, like we were like best friends, but also competitive is a great way to like grow up, like having like a best friend, but also like somebody that you keeps pushing yourselves, which I think is like yields most people to become better athletes in any sense, is like having that like friend that you're competitive with. But he was, I guess, technically the second person to ever do the Glen Rosa rail, and there was like no snow. There was a garbage can that was chained up there, so we used the garbage can to like go down onto the first step and then build the snow up on top of it. And he does this like board slide like back to 50-50. Like no snow anywhere. It was sick. If I can find that clip, I'd love to share it because like it was cool. He was like the second one ever to do it.
And he hit him with the boardy to 50. Kind of a trick that doesn't get enough credit.
Very underrated.
It's very underrated when you go boardy to 50.
Yeah.
I went 50-50 from the outside.
Very underrated as well.
Yeah, a lot of people don't take that.
You're not seeing that.
Jill just cab-2'd that thing too, I believe. Jill Perkins.
She's so good.
I'm friend too.
What about covers? You got a stack of them, huh?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Snowboarder Mag Giant Ollie. I watched the behind the scenes on that. Norway, which also, sidebar, front boarded a massive kink in Oslo on that same trip.
Oh yeah,
that's peak Sollors.
That is.
Thanks.
Jibs Sollors.
Yeah, that was
Sollors.
dude.
Steel
Those like, well, again, that goes back to like when you're with Burton, when they're like, okay, cool, we're doing a project. Like all you have to do is snowboard. They have like the best photographers. They have like the best people filming. So you don't have to think about anything. So like the covers, yeah, it rolled in. It was insane. Like I got 2 snowboarder covers. I got, let me run this. I got a couple King Snows / I think I had a Transworld. I think I had 2 snowboarder covers. I think within like 3 or 4 years, I had like 7 covers or something like that.
That's a lot. Who's shooting these?
And those incentives were big back then. I'll tell you what.
Maxing out.
I was shooting a lot with Moran, Crispin Cannon, Russell Dalby, Blotto, obviously, legend, Airhorn, all those guys.
Yeah, that's like, I wish I had a super Airhorn for that whole roster.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough, like through the connections with Burton and even just like on my own, being able to work with like a lot of talented media. And again, it goes back to like when you're working with the best media, it makes your job easier. So it's sick when you're in a fortunate situation like that.
I love it. Okay, I think we should hit hot takes, but before we do, I got one more question. How has your approach changed from maybe early in color, cab 9 into 6 inches of crust to now?
I do a lot more snowboarding that I want to do. Is like my easiest answer, like back then, through those like Burton movie years, like we all know like the contracts were bigger back then. There was like more of like an incentive to be like, okay, I need to hit like a bigger jump or do a bigger trick and all. And there's like, yeah, I wanted to like continue to progress and always have like standout shots and be proud of what I was doing. Like, don't get me wrong there, but it was like, there was also like an incentive of like, people are paying me. There's like a results expectation. Whereas the contracts aren't as big now, but I get to snowboard exactly how I want to snowboard. Like everything you see, like, of me riding, it's like that's something that like I probably found or I probably shaped and like got people to come here because it's like something that's important to me. Like every shot I do, like if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. Like I'm sorry, that's just like where I am in my career right now. But everything that I do is like authentically like that's the shot I had in my mind. I work with the filmers, I work with like the jump and everything that I want to do, and it's like every clip has a reason. I'm not just out there like doing shit. So I think that would be the biggest difference in between the person I was, the snowboarder I was, to the snowboarder I am now.
I'm curious too, Mark. You got your YouTube channel, which I'm a big fan of. I'm very vocal about that. I love Craig's as well.
Buddy. I'm a big fan of your channel.
Mark's.
Hey, me too. Thanks. Your channel as well. Yeah.
But it's great. It's shit that I like to watch. And so I'm curious, like, what's your vision for this thing? Where are we at?
I feel like it's a very loaded question.
At Mark Sollors. At Mark Sollors, by the way.
Yeah, at Mark Sollors on YouTube. ORS, not ARS. But I think like the way we're talking right now and like the amount of effort that I've spent like with product teams, the way I'm kind of like analytical and I try to look at everything is like I saw that as an opportunity to get into this YouTube space a little bit where I do more of a deep dive on product because I actually like work on the product. So I know the reasons why a board is built a specific way, or like why we designed a boot the certain way. It's just like, I've been working on boots recently and I'm like very excited what's to come. I can't really talk about it, but like there's some sick shit with Burton boots coming out that I was able to like be a hands-on, you know, like developer with. And so that's where I like saw it. I was like, okay, instead of like all these other spaces on YouTube that are talking about, you know, a very general outlook on like product and why this board rides a certain way, it's like, I want to do a deep dive into like how it rides for me, what conditions I ride it in, why it's designed a certain way, and where or who can, you know, thrive from this. Like give as best of a firsthand account of what this product is about and who would be the best people to ride it. And then also do like a deep dive into like everything that we do out there, you know, like I've always seen this, you know, we spend so much time in the wintertime and yeah, we have projects coming out and it's all A footage, but there is so much shit left on the cutting room floor. And there's so many stories that I never got to see when I was growing up because it was always just like the videos would come out once a year, the magazines would come out a little bit and I get to read about it. But like in this like current like digital media space, we have like the ability to really like share everything, at least everything that has value. Some shit I don't think is worth showing, but it's like there's so much more that people can learn from. And like, especially with an individual sport like snowboarding, like the more information we share with people, the better they're going to have and like a better life with snowboarding that they're going to have as well. So I don't know. It's just about like sharing what I see as, you know, value and giving an honest take on the product because I do like working with products. So if I can have an honest conversation with an audience that is engaged about learning more about that, then that's the most direct way I can do it.
Yeah, that one video you made of just what's in my pack.
Yeah, and that was like my worst video, like as far as view counts go. But
I
like,
loved it.
But that's the thing; it's like the comments went off, and I think that's really interesting too because it's like that video didn't get a lot of views because I had a shitty thumbnail, or I posted at the wrong time, or I changed a title. You know, it's like the algorithms are so crazy these days, but people connected with it, and it's like I have this like kind of ongoing conversation where I'm like, well, like. View counts aren't everything, you know? It's like a video can get like 30,000 views or 100,000 views, but it's like, what's the quality of each view? If I get 2,000 people to watch this video and they're engaged and they're interactive about why a product is a certain way or why we pack a certain thing, it's like, to me, that has way more impact. That is way more of a quality view than 100,000 people that go snowboarding twice a year. So I don't know. I have like a very like weird thing about understanding like that YouTube digital space, but that's where I look at it. I'm looking more of, and Craig, we've had these conversations too before where it's like, yeah, it's not the biggest number, but like, look how much engagement it is. Like, yeah. You know, like you just announced that to like 1,000 people, picture 1,000 people in a room that all have questions about that exact product. Yeah. That's way more valuable than like fucking 10,000 people that are walking through a mall and they hear 30 seconds of your video and they keep walking. So I don't know. True. I think you're great with that. I've bounced so many ideas off you, and I appreciate that. By the way, I hope. I've said that before, but I appreciate like all of the like knowledge I've learned off you.
Oh well, I learned it all from you as well. I think it's really interesting too. Is some people in their careers were like, "This is how I do it, and this is the way it's done, and I won't change how I'm doing it." But I think that you've done a really good job of being like, "Okay, I don't really get the digital space, or I'm learning about it, but I'm putting myself out there and trying to do this kind of stuff, but understanding the wild, wild west that is YouTube and social and all that kind of stuff." So I think it's very courageous of you.
Thank you. It's a career of constant learning, right? Mm-hmm. Like snowboarding is not when we all started, it was like you make a video part and maybe you write a story and do an interview and that's your job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's like there's almost less money, but there's more work.
True.
Yeah.
True.
But still, I wouldn't fucking trade it, man. We're so lucky. Like, look where we are. Yeah. Good hanging out with you guys. This is great.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And I want to just kind of get in there and add one more thing too with what you're talking about with the views and all that, is that there's like, you know, on this show, a lot of people are like, we got to grow the sport, got to grow the sport, got to grow the sport, got to grow the sport. Like, how do we grow the sport? Yada, yada, yada. And I think there's like so much emphasis on trying to make snowboarding something bigger than it currently is. And I understand that it's great to grow the sport, where you don't want to skip the needs of the people that are already invested in the sport, that already love the sport. Like the snowboarding isn't the people that really love it and breathe it and digest it. It's relatively small compared to F1 or football or baseball or hockey. And like, that's okay. And so I think speaking to your people in snowboarding and just actually bolstering our community instead of trying to like reach out and like, we got to get the masses, and like the masses really don't give a shit. So why don't we just take care of our community, you know? And in some ways, which I don't think, I'm not trying to derail people from taking care of the masses as long as you don't skip over the community.
No, I think you're right. And I think, and I understand this from like a lot of business side where like a lot of decisions are made because the results are trackable, you know, like everything with digital space, it's all trackable. It's like how, like this one post, what did it lead to as in the funnel as far as like sales and everything, you know, it's like everything is trackable and proven. So it's like putting money into this worked because we yielded that. And it's like they can prove it to their bosses and their bosses can prove it to their bosses. And I understand that. But I mean, like this might be like is old head still a thing? Can you say yeah. This might be like an old head perspective. But it's like, I also see the impact of like the untrackable core audience, you know, where it's like this community that goes to the Bomb Hole Cup or whatever. It's like they influence people that aren't even into digital marketing space potentially. And now they kind of want to get into that great community feel that we all just experienced it. And that's like an introduction into now a bigger community as a whole. So you're welcoming people in that way. So it's this constant, like, I understand new technology, but I'm also stubborn in a little bit where it's like, it's not all trackable. Like, again, like I could be totally wrong. There's digital marketing experts out there that would be like, oh no, we can track it this way. But at the same time, I'm like, there is that little bit of like, you know, when there's a core community, when there's like a really strong community of something, you can pull people in that way. That's word of mouth rather than, you know, the trackable ads that we have.
The intangibles.
Intangibles. Nice word.
Yeah.
Jody would like that. Okay. Juxtaposition.
I like that he's not sure entirely what it means too. That's fantastic.
No, he knows what it means now.
All right, let's get into hot takes. How do we feel about that?
Let's do it.
Okay. First question, your greatest of all time, your GOAT, both male and female. Who you got?
So I'm going to answer this because I think Jamie Anderson is the GOAT for male and female. I think she has the length of her career and in every aspect of her career, she's covered it all. But then again, it's also for me. So for me, fucking Devin Walsh. Let's go.
Yep. Woo.
Yeah, Devin Walsh.
Nice.
It's my guy.
Great answer. Man, this question sucks. I'm sorry. Snowboarding art.
We can change it.
Art, sport, or lifestyle?
Again, if it's going to be for me, it's a lifestyle. I don't know.
Change nothing. Great.
Yeah.
Name an underrated rider, one of your favorite underrated riders.
I forget who just talked about this on one of your, but I'm going to say Chado.
Otterstrom?
Facts.
Yeah. Woo.
Facts.
Because, I mean, I'm sorry, but dude, he continues to put out clips like nonstop. And like from when I was a child, he was putting out clips as like a professional snowboarder. And he is still in this space as a professional snowboarder. He grinds harder than everyone. You see him splitboarding and hiking. I'm just like, dude, that guy is awesome. I love it.
He's a certified prob. Okay, next question. Steel or powder?
Powder. Sorry. Hashtag sorry.
Hashtag sorry with a
Airtime
Canadian
podcast.
flag. Airtime podcast. Favorite style ever?
Devin Walsh.
It's actually potentially.
He changed my entire, like, I'm going to say this again because like I used it when I did Jody's Airtime podcast, but it's like, he really changed like my perception of like snowboarding, but also life. And again, I don't know if he ever used this quote, but it's just something that inherently came my way from watching the snowboarding. But it's like, it's not what you do, but how you do it. Like, I'm sorry. And that's just like a metaphor for life. Like that is literally like it's how you do it, man. It's how you do whatever you're doing, living.
Favorite method? Jody?
Can I do in between and outside?
Yes, in between.
Okay, Jamie inside, Jamie Lynn, and Nico outside.
Okay. We have a question of the Manboys crew. Who's got the worst method?
Jody kind of does like skate melons, and I think they're supposed to be methods.
So is that what's your final answer? Just
I don't want to
name.
answer, man. I'm still haven't got over the negative things I said before. I feel guilty already.
Very harsh earlier.
Oh God.
Yeah, I love that. That makes you so uncomfortable.
Look, I'm like playing. I got like a nervous twitch whenever I get uncomfortable and I start playing with my fingers. You see me on the airplane and I do this a lot when I'm nervous. As soon as turbulence start, I do this and I just like, and I've had people like, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
No way. Yeah, that's great. Okay, next question. Favorite snowboard video ever made?
This is tough because I think the most impactful one I had was Resistance, but my favorite is probably Afterlame.
Okay. Favorite snowboard graphic?
I think I'm going with Terrier's Pro Model, the wooden sword.
It's a classic.
Because that was like, I believe that was TB2, and that was the first video I ever got. I went to that snow show that we were talking about in Vancouver, and it wasn't new there because it was 94, I think, when we went to that, which is a sick, I can't believe you had that information. But it was like off the rack, like sales video, TB2, and that's the one that was like my first video. And like Noah Slasnik had the trucks on the base one with Jimmy was a race car driver. Terrier had the sword board. It's insane. I watched that video so much.
Okay. If you could go heliboarding 3 people, just good times, you can bring anybody in the world. Who's going?
Shane Gilbertson, who I grew up with. Oh man, this is tough.
Young Dolly brought Mike Tyson. Just gonna say
Man. Yeah, Shane for sure. Probably Rasmus, I feel like would want to start hitting big shit when I just want to ride POW. So that's a tough one. Jody would probably get a spot in there because it'd be so fun. You know what? Maybe I'm going to do this just because this is like so impactful for my youth, but I'm going to say Shane, Mike Sperling, and my brother Karsten. And I love my Manboys, but it's like those 3 people that I listed, like I don't really get to snowboard with them as much as I usually get to, you know, like with these other boys. And I think it'd be like a very full circle, kind of like we're all brought back together.
Okay, anything in the world, doesn't have to be snowboard related, dream sponsor.
Ooh. I don't know. What's like a real estate company, so I get a bunch of houses or something? That'd be pretty sick.
Okay. Like a housing development.
Yeah, Sotheby's.
Yep.
Yeah, or actually, this sounds funny because I'm like afraid of flying, but like an airline sponsor, so I can just travel for free. That'd be so sick.
Yes, that
it's
ain't
like
bad.
there's still like we're fortunate we've got to travel so much, but there's so many places in the world I still want to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that. Okay, next question. First try, step down. Gotta land, gnarly, must make. What trick you doing?
Front 3.
Front 3. There it is. Not straight air.
So, you know what's funny about while we were talking, it kind of like raised that question because as far as like videos go, True Life was also a huge impact because of Duffsy's part. I fucking love that video part. Like I watched that one again on repeat. Kind of an ode because Karsten, he would drive me to like the skate park in our shitty old van in Kelowna, but he would play 93 Till Infinity, and this was before that video came out, so I had already like some nostalgia to that song. And he has this one shifty in his video part just off a cliff coming right towards the camera, and I literally like that's I think how I started doing just straight airs and shifties was because of that. Like I would go on the trampoline and I would do a shifty because of that. Like it makes no sense.
It's doing some shifty work,
dude. Yeah, just out there on the where's Mark Eyes in the backyard working on the shifties,
the fundies. Yeah.
Getting those reps up. Okay, last question. Worst trend. What do you got?
I don't know. Trends come and go. Do whatever you want. I think I would say this isn't a trend specifically, but it relates to every and all trends. And it's like the extremism of any trend I kind of hate because it's like...
Good answer.
It's like whatever's the new hot thing, people will do it to like level 10 or 11, you know? When it's like, yeah, it's like that's a sick trend. Let's incorporate it a little bit into my life, you know? And then that trend fades and you work to it like another thing. It's like... I tend to live like a very like, I don't know, what's the saying? It's like everything in
moderation.
Moderation, thank you. Where it's like, I love everything that we get to do, but there's a healthy amount of everything that we get to do. Anytime there's like, you jump into like extreme, like you were cold plunging this morning, and I'm down for cold plunging every now and then. But when people are like, I'm going to do like 6 minutes every day, it's like, it's kind of like an extremism that I have like a hard time understanding for a little bit. And that's just me personally. But yeah, I think trends come and go. Do whatever you want. Makes you happy, do it. Just sometimes you don't need to do it like that it's your entire life kind of thing.
I love it.
I really want it's a hot take. It's an opinion piece for somebody who's been in it for a very long time and seen different rules, I like to call them. Same trick on the same jump in the backcountry.
Wow, that is a big one.
Tread lightly.
If you don't know, no harm. You know, it is what it is. There you go. You did a trick and you didn't know somebody else did it. It's like, who cares? It's fine. As far as like same jumps go, there's this rise, and Cicerelli was the one that taught me this, and I really respected it once he told me, where he wanted to hit like the forearm step down, and he wanted to do a trick on it that was like, this is a legendary spot, and he wanted to do something notable on it to be like, I am here as a professional snowboarder. And that I respected so much, because he's going somewhere that has been a staple in our history and our culture of snowboarding, and he wanted to put his mark on it. Whether that was a new trick or not, I understood that he wanted to like elevate himself to be like, this is something of substance. And he's like, I deserve to be rated as a professional snowboarder. And when he told me that perspective, I like had so much respect for it. And I was like, yes, okay, cool. People that go and hit, you know, like Chad's Gap and Pyramid and like all these notable ones, go and hit those things as a younger rider coming up and make your stamp as like, you are a professional snowboarder. I am down. But like, if I'm going to form step down and going to front nine it again, because I've already done it twice. It's like, come on, Mark, it's kind of cheap out.
Okay, so
what's the answer?
What's the official take? So no repeats? Repeats? Do a front nine every 10 years on the same jump?
It varies on the rider.
Okay.
And on the trick. Like if it's a front five on something that's already been done, it's kind of like, it's not a trick that's elevating the sport or like elevating like you're just getting a trick on something that's already been done. Then I say no.
So no repeats is what you're saying. Because what you brought up
I
about
have like
Mikey,
a big asterisk on the side of it, you know, like.
But what you brought up about Mikey is he went and he did a back 10 double, as dipped as you possibly can. And yes, JP and Rusty and Matt have done back 10s flat.
Yeah.
His was different.
His was different.
So flat.
Yeah.
Don't even sound good when you're singing. Yeah. He did a super double dip. So what you're saying is, yes, hit those features, do something new, add your own style.
Yeah.
I look at a Jack McDougall who did the backside rodeo 7 on form step down. Yes, Devin Walsh had done that. Jack went to the absolute bottom. It's his proving ground. Like there is some Jack flavor on that. You watch those two clips side by each, completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different looking.
Yeah, I agree.
Side by each is out of hand. I love that. But here's the other thing. Okay.
See, that's where I'm like, I feel like I don't have a firm stance, but like, if you're just going to hit the same fucking jumps that's been hit for so long, it's like, you're not doing anything different. You're not proving yourself. You're not pushing yourself. You're just going to get clips. So what's the point? You just want to have another clip in your video part? And then we go back to like the quality over quantity thing. Well, it's like, then you're just trying to fill space in the video part.
Yep.
So it's like, I don't think I can answer having like a firm stance on it, because I think there's so many variabilities. Sorry.
I like it. I think it's...
Is that what do you call it, a Louis Vito answer?
No, you covered it, I think, well.
Yeah, I apologize to anyone listening that wanted me to give a firm stance, but I think I need to sit somewhere in the middle.
Well, the thing is, too, is that if you film that trick and people are like, somebody already did that, well, that's what happens when you do an ABD. It's like, if you really... That's what I love about the Hollywood High reference. You go to Hollywood High... You know, Felipe just got a cover doing a kickflip frontside blunt slide down a rail that's been hit 7 million times because he raised the bar on a rail. And it's like, if you go to, if Cicerelli goes to form step down and he does a fucking cab 12, we're all going to be like, holy motherless goat. That was fucked up. Where it's obviously going to be easier to do a cab 9. We all know that, you know? So it's like the proving grounds of going to staple spots and doing NBDs they're always going to stand out. Like the switchback 5 on Mother that Ben Ferg did, you know, like it was insane. It was incredible.
I mean, Devin switchback 5. I'm pretty sure Rube switchback 5, or definitely switchback 1 did. So it's true, but it's like, you're right. That is like, it's a standout shot.
It is. It's
And I didn't watch that being like, oh, it's already been done.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that being like respect, because that landing was flat too. Like he fucking powered through it. So you're right. Yeah, I guess if I have to choose something, I guess I'm now on okay. Like fucking, it's fine.
It's not what you do; it's how you do it.
It's how you. Thank you, Craig. Look at that.
Like
my answer could have been like 2 minutes shorter if I just stuck to my motto.
Some people might go switchback 5 melon. You know what's still open? Switchback 5 boot. You know, you just grab boot and you're good.
Yeah. Hold on to the buckles and hope for the best.
Strap that finger in as you're spinning.
This thing's been back 7 melon. Has anybody gone back 7 boot on this thing yet? No, back 7 boot wide open. It's wide open. Have you ever latched boot midair?
Yeah.
And been like, God damn it.
And I'm in like a 24-year career or something. I've definitely grabbed boot.
It's nice. Sometimes the angle does hides it.
Good filmer.
I did a back 7 boot and it made it in. Anyway, let's keep it moving. So we did hot takes. Talk specifically about your setup. What are you rocking?
Currently, I'm on the Burton Grillmaster 165 for backcountry. It is, I think I already talked about some of the specs. I don't think I need to run through that. So I'm on that for the boards. I do, as far as when I'm on strapped bindings and boots, I run the Cartel X and the Ion Boa. And then when I am on step-on, I have the step-on, what's that? I don't even think there's a name for it. It's just like step-on ESD. And then I have the Ion Boa as well. Yeah. And then gear, I'm all AK.
Should we lean into the step-on thing for a little bit? It is getting over a huge hurdle of a lot of people that are like recreational snowboarders of just having to sit down to strap in and just get off the chairlift and click in. It does service a giant, probably the majority of snowboarders.
Yeah, I think like also going back to that conversation about how do we get more people to be included, and it's like if it's such a barrier for people to be like strapping in and stuff, and this is making it easier for people to go out and ride, then it's like fucking awesome. Great.
I got to be honest with you. I've spent so much of my life making fun of step-ons that it's just a hard, or step-ins.
Step-ons.
Because step-ins is the old style. Step-ons is the new. It's just a hard pattern to get away from, you know, because I do love making fun of it.
Your feet are taped to the pedals. In this one.
I don't know. You know, my hands are a little tied, but I think the technology is probably pretty good. I just got to just break my ways a little bit.
I'm not here to convince you to do it. I mean, it's one of those things. It's
pretty fun.
If you want to, great. If you don't, that's fine too. Like, there's a lot of people that are enjoying it, and like I said, like my involvement is like, if I can make this product better because it's here to stay, why wouldn't I be a part of it?
Yeah, I don't know. I love it. You're kind of selling me on it. You're making me not want to make fun of them, unfortunately, which is good. You're doing a good job.
I came with a gift for you. Okay. I know you got a new studio, so I want to bring something out. I actually technically have 2 gifts, but last minute I realized one might not be appropriate.
Okay.
But I'm going to bring them out right now.
I love it. We got gifts. So thoughtful.
Wow.
With a T, too.
I love Canadians.
This is very thoughtful. Mark is a very thoughtful person.
You guys are very thoughtful humans.
This was the one I was worried that was somewhat inappropriate, but it's something that that Jake Carpenter used to always do, JBC, when we were celebrating something or just out riding, he would have the Underbergs. And the Underbergs taste like shit, but they're owned by they're like a family company out of Europe and stuff, so I think he had like an affection towards that. And so I have kind of carried that on in my circle of friends where it's like we cheers to something when we complete it, and it's just kind of like a celebration. So this is alcohol, so don't drink it. But Craig and I, if you're okay,
I love it. Oh, I encourage it. 100%.
Please do it.
Yeah.
Get in there.
They're basically like after meal bitters, you know, like digestives.
Disgusting.
I got another one for you. There you go.
There it is.
You know, have one for the people that can't. You know what I mean? It's like pour one out for your dogs.
Oh,
You're
you.
good?
Oh, you.
Okay. Yeah, it's like slick packaging, but I figure if you want, we can keep an empty one like up on a shelf
Yeah,
or
keep
something
an empty
for
one.
you.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
All right, so we got that. And then also because I thought it was inappropriate and I realized it when I was at the airport, I got you a nice little Canadian moose.
Canadian moose. Yeah. I'll put him next to Pat, the Patriot, right there. Look at that.
I figure we can find a little spot to make sure you always got a little bit of Canada in here, man.
I'll make a little air bubble that says "sorry" coming out of there.
There you go.
Sorry.
It's a nice little reminder. I do really appreciate how many Canadian guests you've been having lately. So it's awesome now that to those shutdown years are over, you're able to have us down here. So I do really appreciate that, and we get to tell our story a little bit. So thank you.
I appreciate you guys. Like, you know, with the Manboys movies, you guys have thought of us to host it, and like been involved with having you guys on the show, and Whistler being such like a pivotal part of our snowboard community. That so thank you guys for everything that you guys have done. Now, why don't you guys rip some?
You want to wait till it's like officially over when we do the thank yous, or do you want to rip it now?
Up to you.
Let's do it now.
Right. Yeah, rip it now. Down the hatch.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing.
Craig, thanks for joining us. It made me feel very welcomed here, having you here as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who? Wow. Slow pour.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Let a salt to join the party.
There you go.
Oh. I got it like
there you go.
Shot of liquor. Okay. All right. How was it?
Awful.
Makes you feel something.
Feel free to take that down anytime. You don't have to have it up there, but
I like it.
I kind of think it's one of those like I don't know. I've been doing it even with a lot of like friend stuff, and like we always do it with like the core group at the golf tournament. It's just kind of like, you know, bring the people in tight and have something disgusting. It's nice.
Like it's the peppermint. It's like a smelling salt.
Yeah.
It very stings the nostrils.
Oh yeah.
Be honest with you, that smells like pure gasoline. All right, incredible. So lastly, well, what's next for Mark Sollors?
That is, again, I've used this term before, but a very loaded question. I think I'm in a very interesting point. You know, I'm well into my career as far as a snowboarder. I'm very much looking at the other side and what I enjoy about, you know, like how I can stay within the community, how I can stay within the industry, where, you know, my strengths are, where my values can be. So I think I'm going to continue to explore that. Working with Burton and product has been a lot of fun, so I want to continue doing that, and continue finding a way to like give back. I think it's all about like offering value. So as I discover more ways to like return that value to the community, I think is going to be beneficial. Definitely the YouTube is an area I'm going to continue to grow. All fall and through the winter, I'm going to have stuff coming out. And if anybody has anything they want me to talk about or whatever, they can hit me up there or just send messages to my social, my Instagram. And then obviously the Chill Foundation. I really enjoy working with them. I don't know, you know, where I can get more involved or how I can do that, but I think that's going to be a space I continue to grow with. The golf tournament obviously is going to continue on. Always welcome to new sponsors and people that want to be a part of it and support it, because up in Whistler it has really turned into, like, for a lot of people, like a highlight of the summer. Like we have Bo Bishop's his like wood restoration like company. They have their like staff party there, so it's like it's really become this kind of like community event that I want to continue and like hold true and grow and have that energy kind of carry on, whether that's, you know, the golf tournament or in other ways. And then I mean, I'm still so in love with snowboarding. It's like, it hasn't faded, you know, like with this project coming out at the start of November, it's going to be a nice showcase that like I can be creative on a snowboard. I can still do some tricks. I can, you know, share my space and continue to showcase snowboarding in the best light possible. So.
And you don't have a name for it, but where can individuals find this film?
I think it's going to be out on Shredbots. We've kind of been bouncing around a couple. If I was going to release it on my own channel, I probably will do a version on my own channel, but it's also one of those spaces where I think like Shredbots will be able to get a lot of eyes on it and hopefully bring people in. Yep. 'Cause there's some like personality in there and like some personal shit that I'm like sharing. So it's like mostly like snow porn, you know, it's definitely like that. But I definitely feel like I wanted to create a project that was truly me as much as I could be, especially in this late stages of my career. Because, you know, for so long you're doing the snowboarding, not necessarily for somebody else, you're doing your snowboarding, but sometimes it's showcased in like a certain manner that's, you know, up to somebody else. And I want to be able to look back on projects and be like, hey, this is me, you know, start to finish, this is me. I got cameos with some friends and it's like, I was able to control it all. So I really appreciate that. And hopefully people enjoy it. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Lastly, you want to throw out any thank yous?
Yeah, I think I touched on a lot of it, but if I missed some people, I apologize. I would like to share a funny story about one person if I can do that quickly.
Run it up.
Okay, because we ran over the island snow stuff pretty quickly, but like the shop owners obviously are great. They fucking love them. But there's one shop guy, he was the very first one to tell me to drop off a video. We just ridden in a contest and he was like, hey, my name is Des Price from Beneath Underwear. And he was working in the shop, and he was like, hey, you know me, I work at Allen Snow. I was like, of course. He's like, I want you to drop off a video. I really want to see if we can get you on the team and be a part of it. And I was like, fuck, great. Okay, like, give me a couple weeks. I'll like film something. And sure enough, like we hustled, we filmed a bunch of stuff. And I went in there like 3 weeks later or something like that. And I was like, hey, like this little kid, I was like, Des told me to come drop off a video. And they're just like, oh, Des doesn't work here anymore. I was like, okay, cool. He had just moved to Vancouver or whatever. And then it was like 2 years later where they were doing a shop video. And one of my friends, Shane, was like on the team and I wasn't officially on the team. So I like just kind of like bombed all their like video shoots. And I ended up getting last part in that video. And they were like, all right, now you're on the team.
Legendary.
Yeah. But Des really helped me out just with that little bit of a kick to give me the confidence of actually like stepping out to actually be a part of it. Because that's something I feel like I struggled with a little bit was like myself doing the work, you know, like putting myself out there. I always had like so many friends that helped me kind of like push that extra boundary. So yeah, him, Mike Sperling, Jeff Martino, obviously, who was like the instigator behind everything Burton. He was the one that pushed me to head office and did so much for me. My parents, obviously, Karsten was like fucking from day one. He took care of me, like going through like my whole youth and childhood. He was always the big brother that took care of me. So I have nothing but thanks to him. And it's so sick watching his, sorry, I'm rambling now, but like he was there when I was having my like rise through snowboarding. He was such a supportive and proud brother. And now he's in the middle of his like rise within DJing and putting on these amazing shows. And I get to see that other side of it where I'm so proud of his like, you know, not stardom, let's say, but like his like kind of growth. And it's so sick to see and really watch, you know, like a family member go through that. And then, over the years, just everyone at Burton and Monster Energy and like especially the Monster Energy Canada crew have been so fun to work with, man. They put on so many great events and parties and really made sure that, you know, they did as best they could with what's right within our snowboarding community in Canada. I think has been awesome. And, yeah, everyone. I don't know, man. It'd be too long if I really went through it because honestly, like I really mean it when I say like, the best part of my life are the people around me, and I'm very fortunate about that. And there's been so many people that have helped me along the way, and I'm very appreciative of that.
And the sponsors you got on the board right now?
Burton Snowboards, Monster Energy, BOA Fit System. But everyone knows BOA, maybe not by name, but they're the dials that go into all the boots. They're an incredible company. They're based out of Denver. And like when you go visit their head office, everyone that works there is like, you get the same feeling when you walk into Burton, you know, it's like they're all so about sports and being outdoors and performing at the best and, you know, like showcasing each, even though they're in so many different sports, they want to showcase the actual like proper kind of avenue of best way to show that forward. So they may not be like too much of this like business to consumer eyes, but they're just such a great company. And on optics. And then obviously Chill Foundation. They've been so great. They've really like opened up my eyes and like they've got me more excited about snowboarding nowadays because it's like, you know, that feeling of when you get hurt and you can't snowboard. You know, David Bendick talked about this in Afterlane where it's like, yeah, you get hurt, you can't snowboard, you realize how much you love it. I have this weird thing where when people are introduced to snowboarding or when somebody that works Monday to Friday comes snowboarding on the weekend and they have those epic days and they're like, fuck, I miss this. I miss snowboarding. This is so amazing. It's like, when I get to be a part of that, that lifts me up to remind me, it's like, yeah, I'm not hurt. And it's a reminder of like, fuck, I am so lucky to, you know, be a part of this community and everything. So yeah, nothing but thanks and you know, acknowledgement and gratitude that I really feel very fortunate to be in the position I am. Whew. And to Craig, thanks, buddy. Love you, man. Thanks for coming and being a part of this.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Bomb Hole.
Chris and the Bomb Hole, like, thank you all so much.
Dude, I appreciate you coming all the way out here. Been a journey and been really, really fun chatting. Great podcast. Just thanks again, Mark. That was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you all for what you're doing. You know, we talk about that like community and stuff, and you guys are like, that's such a great core of like making sure that you share like the culture and curating that community a little bit, and I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. We love it. And lastly,
to our community, we thank you. To our viewers, to our listeners, don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. Smile because you met Mark Sollors and you know him so much deeper. And smile because next week we'll bring you more heat from the Bomb Hole.
What a
sign off. You let the real professional do it.